Hey everybody, welcome back to Booze and News. I'm Jonathan Fleissner here at the Rec Room. It's Monday, March 27th, and I'm here with my guest for today's episode. Thank y'all for being here. I'm joined with
Albert DeLeon.
Timely Rain.
Devin Will.
Devin Will's a new guest. Thanks for being here. Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.
Cheers.
Cool. Well, we've also got some great news today. This episode is being brought to us by a sponsor. Who's it being brought to us by?
It's being brought to us by Milam and Greene, which is I believe, a whiskey brand that's owned by two wonderful women. It is the flagship whiskey brand of Provision Spirits and is named after their partnership. Their goal is to have the best American whiskey making with a Texan heart, carefully developed and honed over time. And it looks beautiful. Look at that bottle.
That is a gorgeous bottle.
We also got these really awesome tasters that I'm really excited about as well.
I was gonna say, do you want to put your hand behind it
Oh, yeah, there you go,
like
so
a
you can
makeup
see it.
influencer so it focuses?
All right. Well, so today we're going to be drinking the triple cask bourbon.
And hope that I get triple drunk.
Yeah, from Milam and Greene. And you know what makes whiskey a bourbon, Albert?
No.
It's that it's got to be 51% corn.
Whoa.
Now you learn.
What's the other percent?
It's
Any-
corn.
yeah.
Anything else?
It's
Yeah.
It
Well,
has the juice.
It definitely has the juice.
It very much has the juice.
and I know their rep that is our our partner in this. Her
Right,
name is
smells
Blair
great.
Alt, and she runs another podcast called Whiskey Women Podcast. That's super awesome. And she came and brought this for us, but is one of the busiest ladies I know, and sadly can't be here.
Yes, thank you, Blair, again for bringing us this great whiskey. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers, everybody. Oh, he's already
And,
drinking it.
Yeah, I'm excited to start talking about what the hell's going on in the world. Y'all ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm ready. I haven't been boozing these days, but by God, whether I like it or not, I do be newsing. So I'm
Yes.
excited to get partial credit.
Whiskey,
That's good.
women, and world news. Isn't that Luke Combs song?
Something like that.
So, our first topic today is going to be coming to us from TikTok. So, TikTok has been in the news for a couple of things as of late, and they've basically been having these trials and tribulations. That's right, where their CEO of the company has been getting grilled, if you will, by a bunch of boomers in Congress. It's been pretty funny. I'm going to show you guys a little clip that's been going viral on TikTok. A lot of people have been roasting the congressman. So here, let's check this out, see what y'all think.
Mr. Chief, does TikTok access the home Wi-Fi network?
Only if the user turns on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry, I did not understand that.
So if I have a TikTok app on my phone and my phone is on my home Wi-Fi network, does TikTok access that network?
You will have to access the network, you have connection to the internet, if that's the question.
Is it possible then that it could access other devices on that home Wi-Fi network?
Congressman, we do not do anything that is beyond any industry norms. I believe the answer to your question is no. It could be technical, let me get back to you.
Okay, so
What? I'm not sure entirely. Do you ever try to argue with someone about something and they bring up some point and you're like, I don't understand what you're saying, so I can't argue about it. I feel
It's
like
just
that's
out
what's
of left
happening
field.
here.
That's a
Yeah.
manipulation tactic.
That's true.
it could, all right, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But it could be ignorance.
But this guy's basically showing that, one, he has no understanding of technology and how Wi-Fi works, or networks work, or how his phone works, maybe even what an app is,
Yeah.
So, pretty embarrassing. These are the people that represent us that we elect,
I think the term, I was watching other TikToks that were kind of making fun of that. They were taking, making fun of it kind of to an extreme, where it really broke it down to, I think it's the word access that is really scaring these old people. And instead of when they hear that word access, and I think they think that it's going to be just something that
All
can
of
take
your
over and
information.
take all of your information, when they're really just using the word uses. But I mean, that you saw this when you saw this happen a couple of years ago, I think, when TikTok first came out, and people were very confused about what it was going to do. And apparently they're still very confused.
I was going to say, in defense of his ignorance, I can't really answer that question either. I think that your device uses the Wi-Fi network and then you use the app. I don't know. It's kind of like planes
No,
where
that's how it
like
works.
nobody really knows how planes fly. They just get up in the air somehow and we just all treat it as normal.
See,
Yeah.
but there's one
But
way
then
you
I'm
can
not a
avoid that
representative.
and mysterious TikTok.
Yeah, but
It's
I want-
research.
But
Just
I want,
Google it.
people in charge of, regulating
Yeah.
maybe planes to understand how planes get in the air.
Yeah.
I don't care if my grandma knows.
Right.
That's a good
Exactly.
point.
But also, my grandpa probably doesn't need to know how TikTok works, but he's not in charge of regulating it, right?
Right.
So, I don't know, this is just pretty embarrassing from a lot of perspective.
He just sounds like an old dumbass.
Yeah, he sounds like a real old
Oh,
dumbass,
real
out
old
of touch.
dumbass.
Which I feel like we're reaching a point where being old, and we have for some time now, where being old is no longer an excuse for being ignorant to technology. My dad was born in 1954, and he was like one of the first people that a lot of people knew who owned a personal computer. He does the troubleshooting stuff that even I don't know how to do. So I'm kind of like, we've had this technology for so long now that I don't think that being an older person is really an excuse for not
Yeah,
understanding
it's not.
how it works anymore.
It's not, especially if you're, like you just said, supposed to be representing the goddamn state or whatever, and
Country, yeah.
they don't know what the hell an app is or Wi-Fi really, and you're just like,
It's
what?
magic to them. But
You do.
But it is I want to kind of get to this more serious matter of this topic. We
Okay.
can still poke fun of it, but it's like it does seem very likely that TikTok is going to get banned. Like that is the
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing a lot.
the likely outcome of this. And half of the country uses TikTok. It's the biggest app in the country. In fact, I've seen estimates that it might even be bigger than Google at this point. This company, I mean, it's massive, massive.
Yeah.
And I just kind of want to go around on your feelings on it being banned are, and I wanted to preface this by saying, like, I don't know if you know any of the other drama with it. So what the real argument is here that the government is pushing is the fact that TikTok is owned by a company named ByteDance. ByteDance is a Chinese company, right? And that being so, the CCP basically can do whatever it wants with its information. All Chinese companies are beholden to an authoritative government that can do whatever it wants, right? With the commercial data and information. So basically they're saying that TikTok is being used by the Chinese to track people, maybe facial recognition technology,
And spying on the
spying
American-
on Americans, et cetera, et cetera. And this is where, his actual, really stupid question about does it connect to the internet to work, what he's trying to get at, I think, is to be like, can it access other things on your network without permission, and et cetera,
Yeah.
But anyway, it is pretty wild in the modern day that we should basically ban an app or a social media company from, the marketplace. We haven't done it with Facebook, we haven't done it with Twitter, we haven't done it with Instagram, you know what I mean? Snapchat, any of this. So this would be pretty monumentous. And I want to just kind of go around and see what your personal experiences are. I know Albert uses TikTok all the time. I'd like to
So
see
do
what
I,
y'all
yeah.
think.
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah, what do you,
I feel like China has become the new Soviet Russia of like the 21st century,
The
where it's
boogeyman.
it's the enemy country du jour, where it's very easy to look at everything. I watched you guys' episode last month where they talked about the Chinese spy balloons
Right.
and how it fully might have just been weather balloons.
Right.
I think it's really easy to look at certain countries that are considered the threat and go, well, they must be using this against us. I think in this case, this just happens to be an East Asian app that has really exploded in popularity. I think that the invasion of privacy goes so much further than TikTok, and it's not necessarily a spying issue. It's just a genuine leak of personal information issue. Like you mentioned with Facebook, this is something corporations shouldn't have the right to buy and sell your personal information.
Sure.
But I think this is not a TikTok specific thing.
yeah.
I think it's kind of, I've said this last time about the Chinese spy balloon, is that if if we're just talking about the argument, if the Chinese government wanted your information, it's a lot easier to steal than through this like ridiculous long con of one of the best apps that's ever been created. I think on the other side where we're talking about our representatives, it's kind of this like racist snowball that's gotten out of hand where at first it was this kind of scared, oh, we don't know what that is. It's a mystery. And now it's gone to just kind of this giant thing where it's, oh no, we don't know anything. And if you can label it with a little bit of racism, the American people will buy it. And so like I really think that's where that idea comes from.
Yeah.
And there are so many, like he said on the video, is that we're not doing anything that other companies aren't doing. Yeah, when you first download an app, it asks, can I track your whatever? And if you say allow app to track, yeah, it accesses other things that are on your whatever.
So,
but that's not.
I'm going to
Not normal.
disagree a little
Okay.
bit. So I do think that you're both making a really valid point that xenophobia sells. And like this is what the public is eating up, right? It's like, oh, China, spying, evil, communist bad, you know? But they definitely, so they're like Apple, Google, Facebook, they're all data mining, selling your shit, right? Now, the interesting thing though is that TikTok is very, very successful at it. In a very short time, they've become the largest app. You know, they're outdoing Google, which seems impossible, right?
Google's been around forever, and they've been
Well,
around for a
much
fraction.
longer,
For a
you know what I
fraction.
mean? Yeah. So I will say though, he did give the CEO who's there. I forget his name. I think it might have said it in that article, but he did give some other kind of shady responses. One of the questions was like, "Does it spy on you?" And he was like, "Well, I wouldn't call it spying per se, right?" And that's just like a shady corporate answer when it's like,
Very
yes,
much
they very much are collecting our data and using it for whatever. And the I don't want to get into the whole China fear-mongering thing, but it's like, yeah, they're
Well, there's always
They can-
truth to
Yeah.
everything.
I think it's all bullshit. I'm definitely siding more with like, I see what you're saying too, but I think it's all horse shit. All these apps do the same shit. It's all the same shit. Everyone's spying on everybody. It's just that they got the China thing to like source to with it, and the fact that it grew so fast is something that I don't think is something that they should be attacked for. They had a good idea. And it was a success, and it blew the fuck up. Well, I don't think it's. There was always going to be a new thing. It was Google, and now it's TikTok, and that's how things.
But I don't think
work.
they got attacked for having a good idea because the issue
You're
is
saying it blew up so quick, almost like it was conspiracy theory.
No. I'm not saying conspiracy theory. I'm saying I think that. So remember Vine?
Yeah, and it was fantastic.
I miss Vine.
But Vine's gone.
Right, but what I'm trying to say is it was the same kind of idea. So like this short form media content platform is what took off, right? It could have been anybody, it happened to be them, right? And it happens to be backed by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company. This is, I think, the issue. I think if it had been Facebook, there's a
You
lot
think
of
if it was an American-backed company, it would be a different situation?
Yes, they're trying to make it an issue. I don't personally
And they
think
could
any
buy them,
fucking
that's
issue.
why.
I think everything is fucking fine. It's a fucking app you look at bullshit on and laugh at, and you watch clips. It's fucking
Well,
nothing.
hold on.
But they're not bothered with us being our personal information, very personal information, medical information.
But all the other apps are doing
That's
it
what I'm
too.
saying is they're all selling that. And in fact, there's other Chinese companies that we have apps on our phones as well, other than just TikTok. But it is on half of the phones in America
Because
right?
it's a success.
Right. But it does. I'm saying it does warrant some questions, and my personal perspective is if there's anything good that comes from this, I would love to see them regulate what they can do with our data. I would love for them to say against all of them, Amazon.
But you have to get
Apple,
educated
and
people
say-
in that courtroom to do that.
I would
I was
ask
gonna
you-
say there are some questions to be asked. There's some
But they're not
questioning
those.
of privacy, but not
Right.
does it
That's-
access
yeah.
your home Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
maybe
stupid-
not
Now
the
how it's
question
like
to be
affecting
asking.
children, like that's But let me ask you this. You specifically, John, I want to know this. Do you think it should be banned?
Sure, they should be banned? No. I think it should be regulated.
I want to, like, on a very real note,
Before you get to that, so there is a thing called Project Texas, I just learned
Yeah.
that TikTok's doing, or trying to do, which is there's a company called Oracle out of Austin.
Yeah.
So they're trying to like have all of their data storage go through Oracle, which means theoretically it would all be here in the United States, away from like the
That makes
Chinese
a lot of-
government.
that-
But again, this is just the Chinese government boogeyman thing, right? Where it's like, even if alright, let's say that that's not the issue, that the Chinese government really isn't using this in nefarious ways, which they could be, right? There are journalists saying that they have been followed and tracked and stuff like that,
But see, that's buying into it.
well,
That's
I'm just saying,
buying into
like Forbes put out an article about how their journalists had been, but back to the idea of our personal information, right? My medical information, stuff like that, right? Nobody should have access to that shit, but they do. Amazon sells it, Apple sells it, so I'm saying if anything good comes out of this, it should be that they shouldn't be able to fucking sell that shit.
Oh, I agree.
Well, then they need to do it to everybody.
Yeah, I agree.
And by the way, you said like you think it should be regulated. Okay, if TikTok's this fucking regulated, they need to regulate all the shit.
Yeah.
It should not just be fucking TikTok, because then it turns into a race thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what all this sounds like to me.
One of the
It's just
things too, like just about, I don't want TikTok to be banned at all, and I've seen a lot of memes making fun of this, but it does now finance a whole new generation. There are so many people who like their jobs now are TikToks
100%.
are being, and so it's like like I saw old people.
Gen Z uses it all the
Well,
fucking
Gen Z
time.
is employed
Well,
by
those are
it.
Americans.
And they're Americans mostly. And I want to say, like, you know, there was a meme about old people being like, oh, they're being upset that we're taking the young people's jobs or whatever. And it's like, no, that's actually for real. That's how a lot of people make their money now.
A lot
And
of
whether
young-
it's a side hustle or your own main
Exactly.
hustle.
It does probably feel like a slight. Like I'm not a Gen Z, and I don't. And Albert knows. I fucking hate. Honestly, I hate TikToks. Which is
I don't know.
probably-
Yeah,
He does. I know.
That's
He
why
does.
I want to like dig. I want to like really.
Which is
dig
probably
into
why you
it.
wanted to know. But I have nothing. I'm not vindictive because they're a Chinese-based company or anything like that, right? I just hate the fucking medium. I hate the little fucking 30-second clips, and that's what
You can do
honestly-
up to 5
That's
minutes.
what
now.
You do up to 10 minutes now.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but that's not what people are watching. And YouTube is now
It's
doing
not
it with
what I'm watching.
shorts.
That's what I watch.
It's not what I want, right? I want to.
He doesn't like the app. There's something I can say to him. I've told
No,
him,
but I like
can-
watching long form. You know what I mean? I'm in the
I
long
got you.
form
It's in the
podcast. I'm
long
into
form.
long form
But
videos.
doesn't make
But-
it bad or less
It's not
intelligent or anything.
I
like
made
that.
a TikTok.
It doesn't.
I
dude.
made a TikTok of our show
Yeah.
last month, and on Facebook Reels,
And
it
was-
has 2,000 views.
And it's a great clip, and I know that it's necessary, especially for content creation, right?
Yeah.
The thing is that if they got rid of TikTok, it's not like we wouldn't have an American version of TikTok immediately, because it's such a money pit in the hole that someone, YouTube or
Facebook
somebody's
Reels-
gonna do.
Well, I'm already
Instagram
fine.
I was gonna
Reels.
say, that's kind of Facebook and Instagram, which
But
I know
it's
are owned
ghetto.
by the same company, are
Yeah.
kind of
Meta.
hopping in on that. Right, Meta is kind of hopping in on that of having
Yeah.
Reels and the YouTube Shorts, as you talked about. But I do agree that it's not the same. It's not an app devoted
It feels kinda
specifically
ghetto.
to short form content.
Sure, but I can. It's just like how I think about regulation with like when I'm like, we shouldn't bail out an airline that sucks because they don't know how to run their company, right?
Right.
Because we're not going to do without air travel. Someone else who knows how to run the company will come in and make a fucking airplane and a company that can operate, right? If we ban this company because of spying issues or whatever the fuck it is, someone else is going to going to do the exact same thing. Albert will still be able to make his fucking, TikToks of you puking for reviews, and you're good. You'll be fine.
Okay.
You're not gonna
It's
play
like
us,
watching Siskel and Ebert. I'm entranced. I feel like I've been arguing so much with people I know lately. It's so refreshing to watch other people argue.
But TikTok,
Oh, yeah. I love arguing.
Also, I will say, I guess my biggest beef with TikTok, before we go, we can try to
It's
this
real
out,
shallow.
but I have always disliked, like, the conspiracy type shit that I get on you about TikTok. It's like there's echo chambers within it, and it's everything.
Oh, totally.
Facebook has this too. I have this issue with all social media, really. TikTok just seems to be a little bit more devious at it because of its algorithm that it's like shows you a 15-second clip. But here's the next one.
But-
Here's the next one.
Since someone told John that the algorithm is based off your personal
I know how it
experience,
works,
so it's not. It's whatever you like. It's going to show you. And that's why it's a success
If you look
story.
on my TikTok right now, like half of it is like teaching TikToks where like they're showing you like
Yeah.
you know classrooms and stuff like that. The other half are memes. The other half is like
It's whatever
and-
you fucking like. It's as simple as that. You don't get on enough for it to fucking show you what you like, dude.
No, I understand how algorithms work, Albert. I'm saying that in a negative way, they get, like the fact of how they work can be negative, right? Like for example, Facebook. Now wait from TikTok for a second, right? They found with studies. This is when Facebook was being under investigation a while back, like a month or two ago, whenever that weird Android-looking fuck was getting grilled by Congress. But they said, you know that. There was like a lot of these right-wing, like kind of terrorist organization type groups, right, that were spreading their shit on Facebook, right? And it was basically suggesting these videos, this content to them, right? Like you said, it's the algorithm, it's what you watch, right? But the algorithms have been, one, getting better at understanding your likes, and in doing so, the internet has kind of become a shittier place. I mean, you know that like 10 years ago, it wasn't all this fucking easy
But that's not
access
the
to
app's
conspiracy
fault.
and hate.
That's not the app's fault.
I
Whose
don't
fault is
know.
that?
That's just people.
I was
The
gonna
app,
say, yeah,
the
I
app
don't
is a
know,
reflection
man.
of society, Jonathan.
I don't know.
It's
You give a
not
man
the
a fishing
app's
bowl, he'll
fault.
turn
I
it
was
into a
gonna say, it's
sword
Not the app's
eventually.
fault, I
Yeah.
promise you. It's just the internet is just a reflection of what people want. It's just a mirror. It's not the fucking app. It's the people. You don't. I mean, it's not the app.
I've seen countless
It's never been the app.
countless misinformation bullshit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
That's all I'm trying to
absolutely.
say.
Because
I was
people
gonna
are
say,
into that.
And I think you're right that that's always been an issue with the internet is how quickly it can facilitate misinformation. I get where you're coming from though. I think that the difference is a lot of social media will like give you content that agrees with your perspective, whereas before this, I think people instead just sought out stuff that agreed with their perspective. Like
Right.
now you can get TikToks and sometimes promoted tweets and YouTube videos suggested that kind of agree with your point of view. But before that, I think
Before you having to search it out. or
well, I was
whatever.
gonna say, but before that, I think people were still getting in their echo chambers. It's
Sure.
just like instead they were getting on like Reddit and all the weird various message boards that people were
Right.
so into in like 2002.
Well, that's another. So that's another principle when you talk about like Section 230 and how the social media marketplaces, all these are regulated, like because they're not publishers, right? They don't have to stand by what your crazy uncle thinks is, who's running the Oscars. You know what I mean?
It's the classic thing of like, well, I'm not spreading the information, I'm just hosting it.
Right.
I just can't wait till
I'm not
people my
agreeing
age are in
with
charge, bro. Like that actually
If
have
you're
this.
if you're a bigot, Jonathan, you get on TikTok. It's gonna adjust to your
Sure.
and it's gonna show you that. If you're not a bigot, it's not gonna show you any of that.
Well, we
So that has nothing to do with. I'm just reminding you that again.
I understand how the algorithm.
TikTok doesn't do anything.
I see how the algorithm works, but I'm asking you if you could.
He thinks TikTok is like doing something to people. It's not. It's just a reflection to the user.
Well, everything does something to somebody. You know
It's
what
a
I mean?
reflection
Like,
of the user. It's a personal thing.
I think what you're
It's-
trying to
Do you
suggest
think-
is a feedback chamber,
Yeah.
right? Like a feedback loop where
Sure, yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like you put in something and then it gives it back to you, which
Maybe-
just strengthens your opinion.
Sure.
And then you end up getting more of that
It's
because you
not
seek it out.
spreading bigotry. It's
Look, I
spreading
think
what
what
the
he's saying-
user wants, Jonathan.
Jonathan would
That's it.
like TikTok if we could. Look, we're stealing all your data. We're finding out who's Nazi. So then every now and then we throw in a few mental health awareness TikToks and some fucking everybody's cool. Okay, that's what's gonna happen.
Well, I don't know. It's such a
Or a
it's such
few
a I do think it needs to. I do believe in like pretty much lots of regulation. You know what I mean? Which is why I'm not like anti-communist or any of this shit at all. I do think the government has a fair amount of responsibility to regulate these companies. I would like to see the misinformation and bullshit kind of be removed from their fucking platform in general. I would love to see that. You know what I mean?
That's never gonna happen.
Well,
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
I don't
move
know
on.
if we can.
well. Anyway, we'll move on from fucking TikTok to more TikTok. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, well, in the news. Okay, so Albert and I were talking about this recently,
Yeah.
and we were figuring out what did we want to focus on this episode, and we wanted to figure out what are the biggest issues going on right now. Obviously, the TikTok one is big for a lot of people, but I was saying I think the biggest issue our country is facing right now is this like attack on trans people that's been going on, and it's been building over the last 2 years. It's really been picking up
60
steam.
years?
Well, in a way, I would say I don't remember the attack on like Drag Queen Story Hour or any of that shit being a popular right-wing talking point until recently. Like, of course, they've always attacked gay and trans people, but they've really been amping up their rhetoric. And so, like, now, Texas is actually a really bad
Before
state
this,
at
it was
too.
the bathroom thing, though.
Yeah, the bathroom ban.
I think it's been in the making, though. Definitely.
I think another big issue is the conflation of drag and being trans.
Sure.
Because drag is an art
Absolutely,
form that like explores different performances of gender roles. It can be anything you want it to be. I have watched people who do drag do like traditional Southeast Asian fan dances. I've watched people who do drag like pretend to like eat a bunch of chicken wings or like deep throat a pickle. It runs the gamut just like any art form, whereas being trans is an identity, and I think they're being really lumped together, which makes sense because they explore kind of outside the norms of gender. But I think that's part of the issue is there's so much ignorance that people don't even understand that there's a difference. Right, that there's a difference between doing an art form and having an identity. Both of them are valid, but I think there's so much ignorance that some people who are going against this can't tell you the difference between a drag queen and a trans woman.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually
And it's crazy,
that's on the money.
and it's crazy because a lot of, and what I'm gonna, what I wanted to talk about is like, even the fucking current governor of Tennessee has photos of him in drag. And he's the one putting out the, trying to pass this legislation. And Steven Crowder, a lot of these people on the right, repeatedly dressed in drag. It is a performance art, right? 100%. And these are a lot of bad faith actors. Like, they know the difference, right? Especially people who dress in drag know the difference, right? But it's like that whole thing where you see people, like, conflating sexuality and gender, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's only two genders, they say, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, no, you know what I mean?
Or if someone is trans, that makes them gay. It's like queer is an umbrella term. It's a spectrum.
Right.
There's a lot going on there. I think that one of the biggest things with quote unquote drag is I saw this thing going around on social media where it's like, you've been entertained by drag your whole life. Don't act like you're not entertained by it now. But the difference is all the pictures were like Tyler Perry in the Medea suit or like Mrs. Doubtfire. Things like that. And I think the difference is when straight men do it as like a funny ha-ha thing, that's all in good fun. Right. But when a queer person actually tries to do a kind of gender performance and is asking you to like take what they have, not at face value, but to at least take it seriously as an art form, that's when they're threatened by it. They're not threatened by it when straight dudes dress in drag. They're just like, oh, haha, okay, all fun and games.
Martin Lawrence did it too, I think.
Well, then a lot of, and that's to our point. I remember being, probably it was in the 90s. So Tu Wong Fu, when that came out, was one of my first like real experiences of like a drag movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Kids in the Hall did it all the time.
But it always happened, and especially in theater, there's a rich, long history. Right, of men dressing like women.
That's where it originates, right?
Yeah.
Not Shakespearean, but before women were allowed in the theater, men dressed as women.
And that's probably an element of it, right? And then there's probably people who were always trans and, who dress like that just because that was their identity as well, right?
Yeah.
And only because it becomes more or less acceptable by each independent society does the level of how does that grow, right? How many people become comfortable with it? But like when you talk about like our acknowledgement of it, I remember as a kid watching fucking Looney Tunes and seeing Bugs Bunny always dressing up like, and all these characters dressing up like female characters, whatever, to fool Yosemite Sam or some shit, right? Like and that was specifically a cartoon made for children, right? So when they, there was no issues that they ever had with that, right? This boils down really, I think, to just the idea of them trying to control what goes on in your bedroom.
Also,
I think there's like a little bit of, and this is my like subconscious like crazy person thinking, I think there's also a little bit of whenever you see those cartoon characters or famous actors who were portraying the opposite gender, at that point a lot of the time the butt of the joke is that they are a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you go to a drag show, that is not the butt of the joke.
Mm-hmm.
That is the art form. That you are a drag is a feminine, usually it doesn't have to be. I'm talking about
kind of
drag
the stereotypical
queens. Yeah.
RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah,
type
when I'm talking about
queens.
that, not necessarily drag kings, but drag queens. That is celebrating usually femininity on some sort of level. While Looney Tunes, it's funny that she's a woman. Medea, it's funny that he's a woman. And I think that's where like a lot of it comes from. And I can say something else too.
Sure.
One of the big things I've been seeing is this isn't appropriate for children. This isn't appropriate for our children. And I've grown up with gay parents my whole life. My moms were drag kings growing up. I would go watch them be in the Gendermen back in the day, which was a troupe in Houston. And so like I've grown up with it as such a normal thing. Very normal, like, you know what I mean? And there's nothing bad that ever came from that. And one of the biggest points now that I heard someone say in a courtroom or whatever was like, we're doing drag for children because we have children now.
Right.
Us as queer adults who, you didn't fucking kill during the AIDS crisis, that you didn't kill during, these really, really hard times for gay people. We have children now, and we want to pass on that our cultural arts, dude. Y'all have the rodeo. Give me my drag brunch. Like, I mean, there's pros and cons to everything, but it's a cultural heritage that needs to be passed down. I firmly believe.
And I told you that I think a lot of it is just a way of not dealing with real issues.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's actually the main.
That's our domestic boogeyman.
Yeah.
The international boogeyman could probably be China right now. And the
Communism
domestic,
or et cetera, right?
and the domestic
Because
boogeyman right
capitalism
now.
good, communism bad.
Right. And
They
the
don't wanna-
domestic boogeyman right now is anybody who's not like gender
A
conforming.
marginalized group. It always is. You always pick a weak fucking opponent that you can bully, right? I think so. Just keep going around about this before we get off the topic, though. In Tennessee, I believe that they are starting to do like drag bounties, to where like you can report somebody who is performed drag, and you can get like a bounty. You know what I mean? For reporting them, basically.
Yeah, I think that's so fucking disgusting.
Yeah.
Like, how did we go? I don't know. I feel like very like soapbox like old lady here, but it's like, how did we go in like the past year from like we don't have like tons of people in this country don't have abortion access anymore. Right. It's widely outlawed. Drag is starting to be outlawed.
Right.
And it's like, how did we go forward and now we're going back to more like 1967 type stuff?
After Trump's gone too?
Yeah.
After Trump's gone too?
All right, I can answer that for you, I think. Well, for one, this goes back to the idea of regulation and where we let our government go, right? We've had 40 years of just deregulation in this country. Even like the times where we had Democrats, like the Clinton and Obama years, they didn't help re-regulate things that Reagan and Bush had taken away, right? It's been this unfettered, capitalist fucking good, companies, corporate, all this shit, right? And even though we had some successes with like gay marriage and, that had been a long time removed from like the civil rights, you know what I mean? And the right is using this. They don't have any policy ideas, right? They have no idea on what to do with like fucking global warming. They don't even believe in it, right? They have no idea on what to do with inflation. What are they going to do with inflation? Cut rich people's taxes? They have no idea what to do with healthcare. Fucking, we're going to get into some more of these topics like school shootings and all that. They have no good policy responses.
So they're basically just in the Senate, just fucking wasting everyone's time.
And they just
talking about this.
What they're going to do is find a what is it called? It's called like I guess like where it splits people, like wedge topics. So that's what abortion is forever. Abortion was one of those topics, right, where you could get people who were very liberal or left-leaning, right, but they're religious and they have like a moral and ethical dilemma with like abortion.
Yes.
So they go, well, I can't vote for abortion, right? So it becomes a wedge issue. And so now they're trying to use that same kind of divisiveness for topics like gay and trans and things like that, right?
And just gender performance with
Right.
drag. That's what really freaks me out, is like the concept of not even, it's already frightening enough, like a lot of the anti-trans legislation that's been going through lately, but now to say like that just being dressed as a gender different from like
Right.
what is expected of you could be enough to have you arrested.
It's insane.
I watched some testimony of different performers, mostly from Austin, speak at the Capitol last week about it. And there was one performer that he talked about it. He was like, if this goes through, he's like, I don't even do drag. I just wear heels and lipstick on stage.
Sure.
He was like, I was invited to do South by Southwest, and there were kids present in passing because sometimes that's just how it happens.
What if you're Harry Styles or Lady Gaga or whatever? Like a lot of the people in their entourages, dress in drag. They're not. It is performance, right? It could be nothing more than that. But yes, it does. I think what will happen is a lot of people just won't come to the South until this gets resolved. They're just going to stop touring here. They're just going to stop coming here. And I wouldn't blame people for relocating if they're financially stable enough to do so.
But then what do we do with all the people that are still here that can't afford to leave?
Well, we have to vote. I mean, hell, the biggest problem is that we have these fucking old fucks in power, and this is mostly, again, I think, like, they're using a religious and kind of moral satanic panic about this to rally their troops, their bases, right? The right is to be like, this is what we care about, and it's like, okay, sure, but I mean, what good does it do? What if once they achieve this, right? How does it help anything? How does it help a single goddamn thing, right? So, I don't know. It does suck ass. I do think it's also, there were some other things I wanted to say about this real quick, but it's coming to the point where this is going to end up in the Supreme Court. And the scary thing is, just like with abortion, right, what's going to happen with that? It comes down to a states' right issue, right? I mean, hell, they were even talking about, I think it's called Obergefell and Hodges, the one that's like the, what's marriage between interracial marriages?
Yes.
I was going to say, I think that's the Loving case.
Loving v. Virginia?
But Obergefell and Hodges, I believe, is the gay marriage
Okay, that's
case.
the gay marriage
But
one,
the
right.
point being that, like, now that we've seen this huge precedent be overturned last year, what other things can we not count on anymore?
I think this is very much going to be something we'll see go to the Supreme Court and become a states' right issue. So then you'll see that, from what I understand, for like the Obergefell and Hodges case, like if you're married, your marriage will still count, but like Texas may not like issue more marriages, right? So you'll have to go to another state like you had to before, right, to get married or something, right? Yeah, it's wild. But any last thoughts on this?
That it sucks a lot,
Yeah.
and I hate it.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like, it's just all depressing.
Yeah.
The only other thing I will say is in regards specifically to the drag ban, I was thinking of this lawsuit that I learned about in my first semester government class in college, where this guy wore a jacket that said "fuck the draft" to some kind of court, some kind of public court, and he took it off before he entered the court. But some people said that since he was on government grounds that was obscenity. And what they ended up deciding is that people could still look away, that he was allowed to express his opinion, and that was freedom of speech. And if people didn't like it, they could look away. And that's kind of how I feel about this, is like, I can't make every person agree with the concept of drag, but I think it should be protected by free speech.
Oh,
And I think if
100%,
you don't
100%.
like it, Don't go to it.
Yeah.
Well, it has nothing to
It's also not grooming kids and all that.
That's why this is all horse shit,
Yeah.
and this is not affecting these guys' personal lives at all.
Yeah.
This is part of their and I don't want to say the agenda. I guess.
Every week,
Where they don't want to go. They don't want to go in the Senate and talk about raising minimum wage. They don't want to talk about health care.
They don't talk
They
about
don't want
food
to talk about gun
deserts
control. They don't
and-
want to talk about nothing that actually has to do with fucking surviving
helping
in this
people.
world.
Hell, they weren't
They
even.
want to talk about fucking drag shows.
They weren't
Right.
even.
The most fucking pathetic thing on
When,
fucking.
yeah, when it came to grooming kids, where were they when all the Boy Scout shit and the Catholic Church was coming out? You know what I mean?
Our government sucks right
Yeah.
now, and that's
So-
yeah.
Yeah, but I will say this: what we should do is probably all just dress and drag. What they do, try to do any of this shit like here. 'Cause
Oh.
they can't arrest all of us.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
And
and
we're
if
all
anything
fucking-
ever
obviously
happens.
we all start living our life.
I was gonna say, should we do like a jump cut where like you guys are dressed in me and Timely's clothes?
Yeah.
and I'm dressed in your
Yes,
clothes?
we'll take a break and then we'll come back. It wouldn't even be that absurd. Actually, I could rock that probably pretty well.
Right?
Yeah, I think John.
Yeah.
What we need to
Yeah.
do, what people should do is, if this keeps happening, people need to just stop. There needs to be like a huge strike.
Yeah,
Where people just stop going to fucking work.
that's right.
Stop paying all the fucking bills and just saying you guys are getting paid a lot of money to sit in that fucking place all day. You guys talking about fucking drag shows. We're out here fucking dying. Okay, I think that's what needs to happen. People need to stop
Well, they
fucking
can't arrest
getting
all
in
of
their
us.
cars and driving to a fucking corporation every day and working for some motherfucker.
Look, you know how
And
hot
being part of the system, and then if we stop doing that, then maybe they'll be like, well, fuck, now we gotta address the real shit. But, that's but that's what I think is gonna end. That's actually what I do think is gonna end up happening. It's not gonna happen right now, because people are still like, well, we're gonna wait and see if it gets better, and if it doesn't get better,
I can tell you this too.
that's what's gonna have
As
to
someone
happen.
who is dressed in drag quite a bit, and I used to do Rocky Horror and all that, you might like it, Albert. If we had to protest in this in the summer, a dress is very cool.
It's cozy.
It's cozy. You don't get so hot. You don't understand how hot this fucking shit is until you've had a nice linen skirt or something to dress on, summer dress.
Don't own a linen skirt.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna move on to our third topic, which is a little less serious, so we can start breaking the monotony of shit.
Yeah.
And this is about good old Gwyneth Paltrow.
Love
Now,
her.
what has she gotten
Are
herself
y'all
into
fans
these
of
days?
Gwen?
I was as a kid a lot, actually.
I
Big one.
was into her because she was married to the lead singer of Coldplay, and I liked.
Oh, I
Coldplay.
remember that.
And then they got a divorce, and I was like, I don't have to
Oh,
like
they
her
did. I
anymore.
was wondering that.
Yes,
Because
they divorced some time ago, and I
Yeah.
was like, I don't have to like her anymore. I think that her products are silly.
Hell yeah.
You gonna read about this?
I like Gwen. I mean, she's a decent actress. I think I've seen her in things.
You don't give a shit about Gwyneth Paltrow.
What, as a person?
Just as
Or as an actress? She's fine.
I thought you don't like celebrities. Tell me shit all the time. You hate celebrity Hollywood.
I don't like aristocracy.
This
I don't
guy's
like
a
Wait,
that.
you
liar.
tell me out of nowhere, Gwyneth Paltrow, you
I
respect.
don't love her.
You don't give a
She's
shit.
fine. She's a fine.
Okay,
All
but
right,
this-
anyway.
Thing is that
This other guy's a
All
liar.
right, but here's the case.
Oh no, I've been seeing a lot of stuff about her.
So-
lately.
so-
She's kind of coming off like a douchebag.
So here's the case. So she went skiing, and this was a few years ago. I think it was 20? Does it say they're 16?
Yeah.
that is right.
And that shows how long our goddamn court system takes to get anything done. But
Especially
anyway,
when you're a rich person, you can just keep avoiding it.
so she allegedly plowed into a guy skiing down a mountain, right?
Mhm.
And he is saying that this is what happened. Is what he's saying is that she was not paying attention. She had her children with her, and she was looking back over her shoulder, skiing down the mountain, watching her kids as she ran into him, causing him to fall down, break a few ribs, and he says that he has permanent brain damage or something else. Now he's only asking for $300,000, which I feel is not a lot.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I hear.
That's not a lot of
I
money
feel like
at all.
that's not a lot of money
Could
to
be-
yeah.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah, I would have been
Especially
like,
if you
give
have
me
brain
$5
damage.
million.
If he has
Yeah.
permanent brain damage. Now,
Okay, but also it says he's 76 years old, and I'm sure those are pre-existing conditions. I could also be 76 years old and convince you I have a
anybody
brain
here gone
injury.
skiing before?
No.
I
No?
know it's how
I
Sunny
have.
Bono.
You have?
did it.
I have. So Albert and I have. all right, I went again this year in January. And I'll tell you this, when you buy your fucking ski lift passes, you have to sign your life away on the waiver because all liability goes to you. If you fall off the mountain, get eaten by a cougar, run into somebody, jump off the ski lift, it's all up to you.
That's your fucking fault.
It's your fucking fault, not the resort, right? So the resort is basically wash their hands of it, right? And now it becomes this civil suit, right? So skiing etiquette works like this, much like driving a car. If someone runs into you, it's their fault. Right?
Okay.
Unless some other, otherworldly thing happened that would cause that to be the issue.
Right.
So it seems like she did run into this guy. If he legitimately has broken ribs and any kind of CAT scan that shows that his brain's fucked up, and he was was he an orthodontist or an optometrist?
It
or
says
some
he
shit?
ran into her. She's saying he ran into her.
Well, that's what she's saying, yeah. That he ran into
So
her.
right now.
He said she said.
Well, here's the thing. She's saying, basically, I've heard her testimony. She's making it sound like he ran into me. This is all bullshit. The problem is for her is that he's the one that's actually
fucked up.
Right. So she's got a hard case in front of her. Like, hey, you could, I think she's lying, and because she's totally fine, and he's fucked up.
She's 85 pounds too.
And not
She could
76
easily get
years
fucked up by
A regular sized guy who's like 150
The
pounds.
fact that the dude is all fucked up
No, he was in his 70s when this happened.
Yeah, but she
is a healthy adult woman. If you're gonna push her down, yeah, she might get hurt herself. If you push a 70-year-old man down a slope, he's gonna break. Even if he tripped on himself.
How old is she? She's gotta be 50.
She
might
ain't young.
be. Let's see.
And she's tiny.
Yeah.
But even so, I feel like it doesn't really exonerate you. Like, if you run into
I think that guy's
an
a fucking
old
bitch. He's lying. He's fucking lying. He's
I feel
an
like
old ass grumpy man
If you hit an old
who hates
person,
Gwen.
who hates Gwyneth Paltrow.
If you hit an old person with your car, you can't be like, well, this wouldn't have happened if he was like 30 years younger. He shouldn't have been so old in the first place.
That's what I would have said. I would have been like, look, you shouldn't have been driving a fucking car, you 70-year-old man. Like,
You have no reason to be defending Gwyneth Paltrow right now. Gwyneth Paltrow.
I'm not defending Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm just attacking the old man. I don't like the old man. Because
Well, I kind of agree.
Why is it this random old man?
All right.
What's the
I will say this. I'm gonna side with Timely here a little bit because one, I do think that old people shouldn't be driving.
she's only
He's
50.
not driving, skiing.
I don't think you should be skiing.
I don't think you should be driving. I don't think you should be
Cut
skiing.
off. You know what I mean?
Because of this. Why? If you accidentally... Because
Too old.
what if also he could have hit any number of women on this ski trip? It just happened to be Gwyneth Paltrow and he could get a bag.
Remember when I came back from
You don't
skiing?
know if he knew that it was Gwyneth Paltrow that hit him, though. I mean, can you imagine getting hit by somebody and
Well,
then, like, you wake up in the
that's what I'm
hospital after the
saying.
concussion? You're like, God, this is horrible. Did anyone find out who it was that ran into me? And somebody's like, yeah, it's Gwyneth.
Well, it says that she
It's the
actually
goop
yelled
woman.
expletives at him when it originally happened.
Yeah, she
No,
sounds like a jerk.
She might have just tripped over him and said, "Oh fuck," which I would have done.
Yeah, right?
But also, look, he's apparently only suing her for $300,000.
That's decent.
That doesn't seem like
That's a
he's trying
good. That's
to
a
milk
good.
her for.
That is a good man. Because if it would have been me, I would have been like, oh no, hell no. I'm getting like 20, 30 mil. I'm walking out of here and providing for the few next years of my.
Well, I was trying to look up her discography, like her her
Well, also,
filmography. and I don't-
another reason why I wanted to put her in the show was because she had another trending thing on TikTok. That was about
She's a devil worshiper or
went. No, actually, it wasn't about that. Thank God. It was about her diet. She went on a podcast and she said that she had her diet was like
all she does is smell her candles. Look like
chicken broth and stuff, and so everyone started targeting her and saying, "Don't listen to her. That's not healthy. Her diet." And then she went on and said, "Look, I wasn't trying to tell you guys how to like," which is true. That makes sense. Like, I'm sure she wasn't.
I think that's tough to say, though, because she does have, like, a health and wellness brand. So I feel like when you have, like, a lifestyle brand, it's a little harder to say, like, well, just don't do as I do. Don't do as I say. When you have, like, when your whole thing is promoting health and wellness, I do think it's a
Can you
little
imagine
harder.
if I had my own health and wellness brand?
Yeah, oh god, that would be so many mushrooms. But also, all right, before we move off of this, we got to remember this is the same woman who made a lot of money from selling candles that smell like her pussy.
Well, I was
Oh
gonna
my God, I
say,
remember
weren't there
that.
also
I almost forgot about that.
I forgot
Just
about
right now.
the jade vagina eggs, as I recall.
Yeah, it might have been.
Oh, those are legit.
Why? What the?
Well, because I was
That's what I'm
just
saying
here's the
is
thing.
that-
I was looking up her filmography,
Also
and
knows.
it's her list of movies she was in, and it's not like great. It's like Avengers and some other bullshit. You know what I mean?
Right.
She was
She
in
did
all
alright
those like
for
early
herself
2000s.
in-
Yeah, she
was
in the
popular
late
She's
there.
made
early
millions of
2000s.
dollars. I'm just saying, the guys get $300,000. Give the guy $300,000.
Oh, I think like
She's from a rich family. She's doing all right.
Yeah, I think so.
And the guy.
he hates all rich famous people.
So are we just saying?
I don't. He hates celebrities.
Yeah.
in your defense, I hate most rich famous people too.
I'll
So
be
I'm
famous
like, you
one
know
day,
what?
so.
If she wants to just shell it out and just have it be done with, I think
Yeah.
that would.
No. I don't think there's nothing wrong with someone
What's
getting
her net
rich
worth right
and
now?
getting famous, but if you're gonna be a jerk about it,
I would sue
Yeah,
for.
no,
I would sue for a lifetime supply of them candles.
I feel
Of
like
them candles.
I feel like if Post Malone was in this situation, he would have been like, "Yeah, take the money." Like, you know,
That's true.
you know, like
And
'cause
that's
he's
a good.
He's a cool guy.
that's a good
Also, Post
example.
Malone would have been like, "Hey, I was drunk,
Post Malone would have been like
drinking a Bud Light coming down the mountain." You know what I mean?
He probably wouldn't even gone to court. You know what I mean? Like he would have settled it like
Because
there in the
he's like-
moment.
The only bit that I have seen from this case is someone questioning Gwyneth Paltrow about the Taylor Swift $1 case, where they're like, yeah, do you understand, like, the idea of a symbolic suing, that it's
No,
not
she
as
is
much
suing
about...
this guy for $1.
Right, and so they were like, haven't you heard of this Taylor Swift case? And she was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they were like, you haven't heard of the famous Taylor Swift case where she sued that guy for $1? And she's like, no, I have no idea what you're talking
I
about.
don't even know what that case was. What was that about? I don't know what time you
As
went into it,
as I recall, it had to do with copyright infringement.
Oh, okay.
So Taylor Swift sued a man for $1, and it was about the damage being acknowledged more than it was about.
Well, that's what
the
she's
financial.
suing him for. And
I was
again,
actually
this is going to
But
be
there's no
something-
damage that's going on to her.
Well, she's the victim. Okay.
She's of a sexual assault, she says.
She's-
Of a possible.
No, that I hated. I actually read
That I
that.
don't
She
like,
thought
yeah.
she might have been sexually assaulted.
Yeah, she said that.
God damn.
Yeah, that when she was describing it, I was like,
Yeah, by a fully clothed man coming down a mountain.
I don't know,
Or
it just
whatever.
seemed
That
hard to
sounds
happen.
terrifying.
Well, skiing is dangerous. I just
Yeah.
went. So when I got back from skiing, I was telling Albert, I was like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna go again.
Skiing is not fun.
I was like, this is how rich people die. And
Skiing is not
I hadn't
fun.
been in like 10 years, and the whole time I was like, damn, I am not very good at this. And I was worried about there's children around and the ladies and shit. I'm like, I'm 160 pounds. I don't want to run into them. You know? I care about it. I have empathy. Unlike Gwyneth Paltrow.
I was gonna
that
say
rich
there's
bitch.
there's potential for harm, even when you are Gwyneth Paltrow,
Right.
the owner of Goop.
Welcome back to Booze and News, and we're happy to be here again. Today's episode again has been sponsored by Milam and Greene Whiskey,
Woo! Woo!
and we are drinking the triple cask bourbon. It is their premium Texas bourbon, which is 70% Texas corn, 22% Northwest malted rye from Oregon, and 8% Wyoming barley. So there you go. And big thanks to Milam and Greene and Blair for bringing that by for us today.
It's a great whiskey.
It is very good.
As long as we're like extolling like all the incredible aspects of Blair, I do want to say that Blair introduced me to something really beautiful called Fat Bear Week,
Uh-huh.
which happens once a week each year, and photos, as I recall, are shared of different fat bears from around the country, and you vote on which fat bear is like the best fat bear. There are some fat bears that I believe have won more than once, so I don't know. Blair is really cool. She also helps.
I love the bear body positivity, you know what I mean?
Right.
She helps out with Grown Up Story Time. She taught me
Yeah.
about Fat Bear Week.
Gotta
Just a
go check
really
out.
all-around cool person. Also, is part of the Whiskey Women?
Whiskey
podcast?
Women podcast.
What's going on?
Women's Whiskery Month.
All right.
Whiskery.
Well, on our next topic, you guys, so this one's a little bit interesting, but I think it hits on the same kind of topics that we've been talking about how capitalism may be the real bad, you know? And so Volkswagen is a German car company that everyone probably knows. But this story came out recently. So Volkswagen says a serious breach of its security protocols resulted in delay of tracking a stolen SUV with a toddler trapped inside. So I'm going to paraphrase this article. What happened was a Volkswagen vehicle was stolen. Toddler was in the car. I don't think they meant to steal the car with the toddler, just happened to be in the car, right? So Volkswagen has this tracking technology that's built in to where Volkswagen can always find where their cars are, right? So they went to the company and said, hey, our kid's trapped inside. We need to know where this car's at. And Volkswagen said, okay, give us money because you haven't paid for that service.
Yeah.
Before they would track the car.
I remember hearing about this one. Again, I'm outing myself as a real nerd here, but I do enjoy listening to NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me on the weekends. And I recall this being a topic that came up. What I believe is that once you figure out there is a child in the car, you simply take the baby seat out of the car, you place the baby outside of the car, and then you steal the car.
Right.
There was a
So
news...
you're pro car theft.
Just not kidnapping.
Yeah, just not kidnapping.
Right.
What I think of is this news story I saw once where a man went to steal a car, realized there was a baby in the car, took the baby seat out of the car and gently left the baby at the place and then drove off in the car. And the mother was like, I hate that he stole my car, but I'm glad he returned my child.
I remember, was this the same story where the guy scolded the mother for leaving the kid in the car?
Now that I don't remember.
'Cause I
but
remember a case somewhere like that where they were like, hey, you can't just leave your kid in the car. Now I'm going to steal the car. You know what I mean?
But you
Just
can't
leave your
do
kid
this.
in there, yeah.
Okay, wait. So I understand the issue here.
Right.
Is that the lady, she got beat up, she got her car taken, the guy ran
She's
her
also 6 months
over.
pregnant.
Yeah, the guy ran her over as he was fleeing the scene. She goes to Volkswagen, they're like, no, we can't help you, pay us money. The law enforcement people go up to the police, are like, hey, we need this information, and they tell the police, no, we need their money.
Yeah.
And now Volkswagen has come out on top of that saying that that is not how that was supposed to go. They are supposed to adhere to police policies. But they did.
Wow.
But yeah, no. But after this is but that see that's what I'm saying. That sounds all very
Still a little
happenstance.
embarrassing to be like, yeah, so yes, you're 6 months pregnant, you got beat up, run over.
We would love to help you find your 2-year-old, but you owe us $20.
Yeah, you haven't paid for your monthly subscription,
Right.
so
Yeah.
it's a weird phenomenon for sure, and I think it's
Is
one
it
of
weird or
those.
is it utterly predictable?
well, and it's also at this point, if you can afford. Safety is something you can only really be able to afford at this point. You know what I mean? If I can't afford to have my house be set up with alarms, then I'm not going to have that. If I can't have my tracking device, if I can't have an iPhone, if I can't have these things that are
A
becoming
robot dog that secures your home.
yeah,
Robot
no,
dog.
no, but that is
Robot
where
dog.
we're going.
Robot
That's what I'm
dog.
saying. That's where we're going. But it's only really made accessible for people that
People
have
who have
that
the money for
privilege.
it.
Yeah, you can't all afford the robot dog.
Well, this is going to make.
I'll
I
never
guess I'm
be
going
able
to
to-
say we should defund the police.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, but I
Don't bring that up around me.
Or defund Volkswagen.
Or defund Volkswagen. Yeah. Also,
Bingo.
fuck Volkswagen.
Yeah.
Really is I think
Or
my
how-
big.
Or how about they just
It's not Volkswagen. It's Netstar.
I mean,
CarNet
the person that they,
OnStar?
or CarNet support.
Okay.
whoever they were dealing with at the time should have just had common sense and been like, I'm just gonna take care of this.
Right.
Yeah.
And move forward, and I'm not gonna tell my boss.
Can you imagine
Right.
explaining to your higher up, your supervisor after the fact though,
Yeah.
like, no, it's okay. I made sure to let them know that I couldn't give anything unless they paid for the subscription. And it's like, there was a missing child.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the person who was on the phone and said, we can't give you anything unless you give us
I
a
think they
payment.
high-fived him.
Then explaining that to their supervisor and being like, aren't you so glad I enforced the rules?
Right.
I think you're right. I think it's common sense. I can't imagine any boss that would be like, wow, thank you so much for not complying with this search for a missing child.
Now, where do you draw the line? What about if it's a dog? Or other property? My laptop's in the car. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're
life.
conflating human life with your Apple iPad.
Because I think a human life is different, even unfortunately, even than an animal life. I mean, I know we love our animals like family, but humans are separate beings, and I do feel like it would be. I think it would be shitty if you got your car stolen with really valuable stuff inside, and they said, you know, we can't tell you anything until you pay for it. But I think there's less of an emergency there than when your human child
Because like, what's
is
the consequence
in the
of
car.
your iPad being left in a car?
I
versus a child?
disagree, and I say that if there's a way for them to track the fucking vehicle, they should just track the vehicle.
Yeah.
It's been stolen. It's not like you're on the side of the road, you're in it, and you need a fucking AAA. You know what I mean? It's still, that sucks. You know what I mean? And there should be a kind of thing to be like, well, I'll pay you. Like, all right. You know what I mean? But once your car has been stolen, like, it's out of your hands.
Well, and also too, if you're gonna be real upset when I'm not gonna pay next month and the month after that and the month after that because my car's still not here. Like, you know what I mean? Help me find the car so then I can pay you more money. Like,
what
you know
I
what
would
I'm
do
saying?
if I was like Honda or Toyota
No,
or
I really
something,
don't have a reason to
I would
pay you
use
any
this
money.
to my advantage, right? And I would be like, yeah, and we'll always help you get your kid back or whatever. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Oh
you know,
yeah. Be a good Super Bowl commercial.
I was gonna say, unfortunately, I do think it turns into a great PR opportunity, and that feeds into what you're talking about capitalism just being kind of a hellscape sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that other car brands absolutely could have the opportunity to be like, we'll return your child.
yeah.
We won't make you pay to get your
Yeah,
kid back in a missing person case.
I want to see the Saturday Night Live sketch. I'm gonna actually write this. I'm gonna write this down.
Because you know they got in on it.
Well, speaking about cars, this next topic is about a new.
But no, definitely someone at Volkswagen was like, fuck, why the fuck did we not think about that
Yeah.
shit? And they're like, god damn it.
Right.
For sure.
So speaking about cars, a new scientific study has come out where scientists can officially link sports cars to a small penis size.
Did we need the scientists to do that? I think we could have just looked at some.
I think we all just knew, right?
I think we all
Sat
knew.
at home on Tinder
Dive
all
in
day
the
and just like
fucking
asked for
certain
pictures.
vehicle.
I was gonna say certain vehicles have a kind of phallic nature to
Sure.
them, like the shape of them. So I think we could have filled in the blanks already. I'm not sure that we really needed.
And it yet to
scientists
be
let us
peer
know this.
reviewed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it needed to. Oh, it's yet to be peer reviewed. So
Well, I like what you were saying. They should just give like sports cars penis names. Like, you know what I mean?
Tallywhacker?
Like the Rock.
the Johnson.
Yeah. The Johnson. Yeah.
Hi, I drive a Volkswagen Tallywhacker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah. Yeah.
We could have a Woody.
The
That could
Woody?
be like,
Mhm.
yeah, like the Chevy Woody. And it's just like a very phallic
Yeah.
sports car.
Yeah,
It's
like
gonna
a
be
hot
my drag
rod.
name now. Chevy Woody.
Hot rods
Hot
are
rod.
basically.
Yeah.
You know, what
Brenda.
else? Yeah. I don't know.
That's just the
Better
name
look
of my
up penis
penis.
names. So anyway, it says that let's look at the story. It says detailed how they, in their own words, manipulated what men believed about their own penis size before asking them questions about luxury cars. The experiment was deceptively simple. The researchers gave participants false information via an online surveying platform by telling them that the average erect penis size is roughly 7 inches, when in reality most research indicates that it's between 5 and 6 inches, and then, primed with that phony statistic, asked a series of questions pertaining to consumer habits and desires. We found that males, and males over 30 in particular, rated sports cars as more desirable when they were made to feel that they had a small penis.
So, did they have one, or were they made to feel that they had one? It's
Yeah, this
because
is kind
that
of getting
seems to be a
out.
distinction.
But that's the thing, is what they're saying is they lied, they fudged the number a bit about the average, so then they made them feel like they might have a small one, right? Although their penis size could have been average, right? Because that's the average, right?
So you're saying that it's about people who are insecure, perhaps not so much about people with smaller penis sizes as it is
Exactly.
people who feel insecure about a feature of their
So
body.
having an insecurity may lead you to doing this. And we all know that. It's called like the midlife crisis.
Well,
It's the
see, then I think
fucking,
that's kind of
You
a
gotta make up for it
it's kind
somewhere
of a
else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's kind of a misleading. But I will say, before you scroll down any further, man, the related articles in your side tab, I'm looking at them up here on the monitor, are just a wonder to behold. Scientists tested whether people could identify bisexual men by listening to their voices, and the results were hilarious. Meet the people who claim to be alien star seeds. Dicks are getting longer, and scientists don't know why. And probably my favorite, biotech penile implants lets pigs get erections again.
So first off,
Is that real stuff? Like that's like, or is that?
yeah, this is futurism.com, which is a fairly decent science website.
So those aren't jokes. Those are like real.
No, those are again just like the
You
headline.
know, we're like comics. We're like, that's not. That wasn't the open mic last night.
This motherfucker like hates like fake shit and like everything's gotta be like proven and like real.
No, this is a decent enough source, but I will say this: I have a friend of mine, I won't name drop him. He's an older gentleman. He got tired of taking Viagra, Cialis, these things, and so he just recently got an implant to where he can pump his penis up. And I didn't even know this existed, but yes, penile implants are now a new thing in the game of erections.
Yeah.
And it uses like water or something, and it like you can pump it up.
What I do need to understand is who stopped the pigs from getting erections in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Who are the people pumping the pigs' erections in this place now?
That's true. Who
It's
is
a terrible job.
inflating the pig penis
The
pumps?
farmer.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this farmer's wife.
And I can't help but think about what I said in our last episode. We're talking about AIs and dating, and I said, all this is going to be, it's all part of the futuristic world we're going to live in.
We're all going to have pump up penis?
No, we're not going to be dating humans. Humans are going to be dating. Humans are going to be either designing their own partner, an AI, or, we're not going to be, then none of this stuff won't matter anymore.
I do find it like weirdly and darkly funny that we will spend all of this money and like my friend, again not naming them, got their penis pumped, paid for by Medicare.
But that's what I'm saying.
Right. And we are denying women fucking.
That's what I tell.
Control.
I'm saying like, I could not imagine being a dude and being like, I have to like stick needles in my penis to feel like someone's gonna like me, or whatever it may be. It's like, or you could just date a robot. And they don't have to worry about none of this anymore. That to me is the future.
Well, you still want an erection.
Yeah.
Of
what? Whether you're judging, yeah, no. Okay, I don't know. I said that me and my boyfriend have this conversation all the time where he's like, I don't want to get old and like my penis is gonna stop working one day, and I'm like, baby, no. The American healthcare system
you are first priority.
Has made every advancement to make sure that your penis can work far after my vagina stops working. So
Cancer,
don't worry.
Okay, we'll get to it.
Yeah.
I mean,
but my God.
But penis.
But that 76-year-old concussed Gwyneth Paltrow victim, he could fuck right now.
And the pigs, let's not forget about that.
He could
Although,
fuck.
I will say, it sounds like this is kind of pseudoscience about this small
this lady sounds like
sports car. What I would like to see some research into are the lifted trucks.
Mm.
I need to learn something about those because there's a proliferation of them here in Houston, and I will say that I think it also seems to lend itself to a certain insecurity.
I think the correlation you could find with lifted trucks is how far the balls dangle past the flaccid penis. That right there is indicating. Yeah, this is my hypothesis. I haven't done the data collection yet, but
I was wondering
the measurement. Yeah, not peer reviewed.
If it's a penis, it's anecdotal.
Anecdotal. Oh my God, I'm gonna.
It's not peer reviewed. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think the measurement between where your soft penis ends and the end of your balls is like directly correlated to how lifted your truck is.
Sure.
That's what we'll learn on our next show.
Well, good news, gentlemen. No matter what's happening, the world may be on fire, but our penises, we will make sure they're always in perfect working order. Right?
I'm just imagining a guy going to a doctor and be like, shoot needles in my dick.
And I am
my dick won't be so big, small.
Sad.
My
dick's not sad.
My friend's still recovering, and I was like, I didn't even know that was a real thing. I was like, I really would love to know how that works for you in the end. You know what I mean? Because he's already taken dick pills. I mean, you know what I mean? It's, yeah.
Well, thank God he doesn't have to get a sports car.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
Does he have a sports car?
No.
Oh, okay.
But he
Medicare
may
won't,
not-
Medicare
but
won't
he
pay
may
for
not-
that.
But he may not have a small penis.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So, let's move on to the next topic. Oh, God. Well, we're going to have to skip a little bit because I'm not prepared for this one just yet. So we're going to go ahead and move on to what's going on in France, you guys. You've been hearing what's going on? There's protests breaking out all
I
over
have.
France.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
So, if you don't know, let me paraphrase. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, so France. In France recently, there's been a lot of protests breaking out all over the country. 3.5 million people, they estimate, have been on strike and protesting around the country. One thing about France is when they go on strike and when they protest, they do it right.
They gonna get it done.
They go to the barricades. That's what
I
they're
was gonna
famous
say
for. Like,
people will be decapitated.
yeah, the French are notorious for like experts at this, you know.
Well,
They're very passionate.
they only got about, whenever they like strike or protest and they all gather in one spot, it's like if you cram that like 400 people inside a rec room instead of like Minute Maid down there.
Right.
It's
Makes
about
sense.
this big.
Well, I mean, I don't know how many people are in France. We could Google it if you wanted to do that.
I've been to
but-
France and it was small and there's a lot of people there.
But 3.5 million people seems like a decent enough chunk of their workforce.
Yeah,
I
no,
would
for
assume,
real.
like,
That's what I'm saying.
maybe 20%. If you want to look up their population,
Yeah,
I don't know, but a large amount.
Now they're on the outside instead of the
and
inside.
they've been doing crazy shit. Like they turned off power to President Macron's house.
Nice.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Is that
For a
like
little
someone
bit.
who has to be like kind of like works in that company
Yeah,
then
for
like
sure.
had to
but,
be
but
the one
that's
to
the
do
thing
that?
Is, this is so. What the strike is about?
They have
is-
67.7 million people.
All right, so if we want to do the math on that, 3.5 million, right? That's
Yeah.
a good.
That's at least 5% of the total population.
Yeah.
Of the total, and then the working probably double, right?
Something
So
much
probably
more
about
than that.
10% of the working population. So anyway, what has happened is in France, they're very progressive in a lot of ways. One, they have a 35-hour work week. I love that.
Right.
I hate the 40-hour work week. I wish we would have got rid of that a long time ago. They've been saying, like, there's very famous economists and philosophers and sociologists that have been saying that Americans should have gone to a 4-day work week 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? France is one of the only countries to actually kind of do this.
Right.
They basically get 5 weeks off a year that we don't get.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem like a ton, honestly, but it's enough to, I think,
Oh.
make you a little bit happier.
It seems colossal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they are also allowed to retire at 62 years of age. And Macron has been saying that because of their high pension cost and their budget and deficits, yada yada, they need to raise their retirement to 64. Now, mind you, in this country, we're at 65. A lot of Europe's at 65. Some places are 67, right? And what's scary is Republicans in this country are actually trying to like raise it to
I was gonna
70
say, didn't
years
they
old.
just raise it in a few places
Well, they're
in
trying
America?
to. They're trying to. They want to either cut or
See,
privatize
that's what
Social
I'm trying to
Security or raise it.
That's what kill us. They
We're gonna
want-
need to go on a big ass strike one day.
Well, their excuse is that we're living longer. So, like, hey, you're gonna live longer. We're having to
So
pay
we
more,
can't
so you
pay
should
as
make
much
you work
to you.
more.
They just want to squish all the life and productivity they can out of you and then fucking watch you
Yeah,
die. They
that's
don't
not-
give a
that's
shit.
not right.
They don't give a
You
shit.
can't
No,
do
it's
that.
not right.
Yeah.
No.
Well, how come the issue is always you need to work longer instead
And
of
not we
instead of us
need to
let's
raise more
tax
money.
rich people more?
Right.
Because this is the thing about Social Security in this country.
We're not
There's-
even tax rich people more. Let's have a redistribution of wealth and of our taxes.
No, I'm
Honestly,
about that.
our military takes up so much of it when, like what we're talking about, it needs to go to healthcare, it needs to go to people and children and schools.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, even if you don't, because I feel like when people say tax the rich, that sends so many alarm bells off, and then no one
Yeah, but who
can
gives a
listen.
shit? There's,
No,
there's,
I
there's
know, I know.
400 people in this country that have like all of the wealth. 400 people.
That's
right?
what I know. I think
And
it
then
should be
we're talking
illegal to
about
be that rich.
versus
I think it should be fucking
350
illegal.
million people. Fuck
Yeah.
those
Well,
400
no,
people.
I mean, I think a lot of these stories, not all of them, but some of these stories just relate back to the same idea that our government's corrupt and it's going nowhere and it's going.
But this is what they say. They say it can't be solvent. Social Security, like we can't keep paying this.
But we know that's bullshit.
But we cap what you
But
can
we
pay.
know, yeah, but we
So
know
they
all
cap.
that's
So Social
bullshit.
Security in this country, I don't know about in France, but in this country, once you make over $160,000, no more of that is taxed for Social Security. Right? You
Yeah.
could easily keep taxing past that, right, for Social Security, and they could keep paying into it You know what I mean? And yes, we may live longer. For God's sake, how dare you get to enjoy your retirement? Right? No, they want you to work to 70.
I would rather see people protest against raising the retirement age and say we need to figure out some kind of funding we can do for pension because it's not fair to make people work 2 years more just because you don't have enough money, than it is. I think the more American thing to do is to be like, well, now we have to pay more taxes. I feel like people are more likely in the US to protest having to pay higher taxes, whereas it looks like over there it's the opposite thing of like, no, we could pay higher taxes, but you're not going to raise the age on us.
One of the big issues we have in this country, though, is that we have this real disillusionment about what your class is.
Very much
and
so.
there are a lot of people in this country who are working class, and they think they're wealthy. Right?
I'm upper middle class, lower middle class.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you're poor.
Well, that's like Trump supporters, basically, yeah.
And this is the weird thing about populism and these things is like if you give them this information. I was watching Fox News basically saying they should raise retirement to 70. Who in their viewership, which is a lot of old people, want that?
Right.
They were like, no, I was promised I would get to retire at 65. They don't have another 5 years in them. They don't want that. You know what I mean?
I would kill myself, dude. Like, straight up. Like, as an old person, like, I don't know. There's a big thing I have about if you like, I love having a deadline. I can think about that. That just has to fuck with your psyche. If you're like, I'm done next year, and then the government's like, no, just kidding. You have to work 5 more years. Like, I'm like, why?
Yeah.
If you want 5 out of me, sorry. Fuck you.
Well, I mean, think about
You're
it like
getting
this.
0.
Think
I'm
about it
done.
like this. Let's say we typically all enter the workforce in our teens. But let's just say you start at 20, right? And you give 40 years. Shouldn't that be enough?
Yeah.
So you could retire at
That's
60?
too much still.
Especially
But that's what I'm saying.
if you have, especially if you have a 40-hour work week and you only
Right.
get not 2 hours, 2 weeks off a year.
2 weeks off a year, right?
Yeah, then you've given, I mean, what, like
Anything could
2/3
happen
of
in
your life?
You know what I mean? You could die long before you
Well,
get there.
I've already started. I mean, you know me personally, so it's like I've already started my,
Retirement.
my protests against the system years ago. But I said this earlier, and I'm going to keep saying this. Obviously, the government is trying to just keep fucking us, and it makes no sense to raise the retirement age. That makes no sense. In some ways, it makes sense for them to hate on drag people because, because they're racist and they're bigots and but like. Whether you're right or left, who wants to work longer?
Well, so
even if you're the
Right.
racist, biggest person in the world, what person wants to add on another 5 years of horseshit in their life? Like that should just be everyone's issue.
So in France, apparently like about 60%-ish of people said that they should just shut the entire country down over this.
That's what I'm thinking is going to end up happening here. And you know what? I mean, start on it early. But
Let's
you-
just
but
start
your point-
shutting
the point
everything
is-
down when we don't
I
like
mean,
things.
Well, we have about 20% of this country that is actually kind of like at the, and a lot of these are boomers, that have a lot of assets, rental properties, Airbnbs, all this bullshit. That's why the fucking rental market sucks and all these things, right? But they're the ones that actually have any wealth and control over companies and shit like that, right? And so their interests align with not raising taxes, not raising property taxes, not any of this shit, right? But for the majority of us, it's a weird thing to simp for them because you're only hurting yourself,
Exactly.
right?
Absolutely.
This is why this is one reason I really like France. And people talk shit about France, but I do love their worker solidarity. People from all over the country are fucking not working.
Well, I saw a lot of TikToks.
They also have universal health care. They have a lot of shit because they fucking fight for
I think
it.
one of the good things about doing this podcast or just keeping up with the news in general is that if you really keep up with the news on a really real way, you shouldn't be happy. Like if you keep up with the news, unfortunately, one of the things that comes with it is that it's going to make you depressed.
Yeah.
It's going to make you depressed. It's going to make you angry. Your life isn't going to be as fun anymore.
Can't live in that bubble of ignorance.
Right. But at the same time, you can, by educating yourself, there's a power with that. And like I said, like I've already started my protests years ago, and me and you are, socialist kind of like ideologies kind of go into play with that. But the point is that I believe that if you keep up with the news, you're gonna understand that every day you get up in the morning, go to your job, all your money, for the most part, is going to, it's just floating, like they're taking their money and they're fucking burning it. And they're just taking away our health care. Like, why the fuck am I going to work every day if I can't even get free health care? I can't take care of my kids. I can't drop my kids off at school and then make sure they're not going to get safe. What's the fucking point? Like, what is the point of living in America and fucking, putting back into the system that's just fucking me in return? Like, it makes no sense. Like, I love going to Starbucks, but I wouldn't be upset if all the Starbucks employees just said, fuck you, we're not working anymore. I'd be like, great, I'll make coffee at home. I'd rather see that strike happen.
Right.
Than knowing that the guy that made my coffee is getting fucked.
Right.
I'd rather you not come to work.
Right.
Yeah.
And just fucking fight this shit. Because it's not working. So.
Let's go around. Final thoughts on this topic?
Final thoughts on that topic?
But I don't like talking about this shit because it gets me worked up.
No.
And I get
Actually,
real dark and
that's kind of one of my favorite
yeah.
soapboxes you ever just went on. Albert, I really, really like what you had to say, and I think you said it well. Sounds like a frog when you're opening it.
It does.
I just kind of have I very totally agree with you, but even that idea and wish is it's hard in practice because you can say, oh, we have to do this. We can't, we can't go to work. We can strike. We have this voice. There's still so many consequences that come with that. I'm still, losing probably $100, if not way more a day.
Mm-hmm.
I have children, maybe. I have a family to take care of. I have stuff that's due. And so it's as much as I'd like to say, fuck it, show them what's up, don't go. In America, I think it's really, really, really hard
But
to
they
do
have
that.
children there too.
I know,
There's
but
just differences in
No,
solidarity.
it's possible. I'm not saying it's easy. It's
Yeah,
totally
I think it's
to
possible, but I
cheat
think
the
you
system.
have to. I think there has to be some compassion for those who are just going to work every day, kind of being ignorant of everything that's going on above their heads, just trying to survive. And how do you educate those people?
Is a rough game.
No, I know. I'm saying, but how do you?
And the hard strike is your kind of, as far as peace goes,
Yeah.
your last option.
It's your last
and the
option.
French are good at it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But they're also good at
So that's
the
what I'm
other
saying,
version,
how do you-
which, if that devolves to that, ends up with the national razor and people's
That's what I'm
heads
saying.
rolling,
How
you know
do we
what I
teach
mean? So-
that in America? How do we teach that in America?
Are you suggesting we bring back the guillotine? Sorry, the guillotine.
Maybe. No, that's just what I'm saying. Because I totally do believe that. I think it's just it's harder for Americans to stomach. Because we haven't been a country that long. They've done the protests for hundreds of years more than we have.
You need certain kind of solidarity. I think that you're right. France has been a country for a lot longer. They also have an ethno identity. A thing about America, one thing they use is to pit us against each other, where they'd be like, oh, the whites, the blacks,
The left, the right, the poor, the
right,
rich.
the trans, the gay, the Christians, the not, you know what I mean? So...
Well, the French people are like, we are French. We don't care about anything, but we are French.
Right, but I'm saying when you have a more condensed kind of ethno state, in a way, it just kind of builds solidarity in itself, but what they are... And I'm not advocating that we do that, you know what I mean? I'm just saying that what we would need to solidify around in America, I think, is to really understand classism. And it's a thing that we are, almost ashamed to do. Because to admit that you're not killing it, you know what I mean, is this kind of bad, this scarlet letter that you wear.
It's a byproduct of capitalism and keeping our wages
it's a byproduct of
hush.
capitalism,
Yeah.
right? And it's that people lie. They you know what I mean? They have to pretend that there's something they're not. And I don't know anywhere else where they really do that like here, you know. Yeah. But speaking about foreign policies and stuff, we'll do this topic quick. We'll take another break. This one is a fun one. So Canada, another pretty progressive country, has just passed a law, basically, that has protected the middle finger, basically, as a God-given right and free speech. That's awesome. And I'll give you some details about this.
That's awesome.
So the gesture is considered rude, offensive, and inappropriate, but one thing it's not, at least under Canadian law, illegal. A Canadian judge ruled last month that giving someone the finger is protected under the country's Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's not a crime to give someone the finger, flipping them the proverbial
Proverbial.
Proverbial. God damn, whiskey. Doing his job.
Shit.
Proverbial bird, there we go,
There you go.
is a God-given, charter-enshrined right that belongs to every red-blooded Canadian. Alright? So, apparently it had been questioned, I don't want to subscribe, apparently it had been questioned, the court documents, when someone accused someone else of making vulgar gestures, like the middle finger, and the throat-slitting motion, now that's...
Like...
But anyway, he admitted that he had
threat.
cursed and flipped him off, but testified that it was initially the other person, so another he said kind of argument. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? The idea that, we were talking about lots of things earlier about freedom of speech, drag and all that. What do you think about things like the middle finger or making verbal gestures and that being protected?
I think it's kind of the same thing of like, if you don't like it, look away. There's
Right.
nothing to be considered obscene about one finger. It's not a sexual organ.
Mm-hmm.
Our fingers are out all the time. We don't have tiny like bras for each of our fingers.
So it's not
And
a
so-
sexual assault or anything.
No, I think it's a symbol of something, and I think that that's not really something that you can censor in the same way that you can't at least legally censor someone saying profanity. Sure, there can be spaces where you can say like, hey, please don't, like a preschool could say, please don't curse in our preschool, but that legally someone is protected for swearing. I don't know. I don't think that the middle finger should be considered something so obscene that it should be illegal. I think that's the same
What
thing
about
as
any
someone.
hand gesture? What do y'all think? What about like the blowjob one or anything?
For me,
thought of that.
For me, it's like I can think of one extremely fucking offensive symbol that's totally legal,
Yeah.
like a fucking swastika, and that's anywhere and everywhere. But yet, if in America I flip my finger off while I'm driving, I can get in trouble for that.
Well, that's also.
But
a
if I
different
showed
kind
a
of
Nazi symbol.
that's not a hand gesture.
Yeah,
It's a visual symbol.
because it's a visual symbol. But I'm still saying, like, I think it's kind of weird for like a fuck you. What does that mean? Like, you know what I mean? What is that? What really? What does that mean?
But there's
That's
all
not.
kinds of shit.
It's
There's this, we all know.
That's what I'm saying.
sexual.
But this is an abstract gesture. You don't know what's going to happen next or what I'm meaning when I'm doing this to you. It can mean fuck off. It can mean you suck. It can mean a bunch of different things. Well, there's only a few things that could mean. You know what I mean?
I would love though if someone was talking shit to
It
me.
could mean brushing your teeth.
Yeah,
There you go.
I love brushing my
Get
teeth.
into the cavities.
We're gonna get this one for TikTok.
Yeah,
next week.
exactly.
Also, it's what if I just started insulting people by saying I was gonna suck their dicks? You know what I mean? Fuck you, suck your dick. You know what I mean?
I like it.
I'm
I
not
think it's
sure I'm
hilarious.
following.
Yeah.
I would love to if watch Jonathan fight somebody. Just go
Yeah.
up to them with just like only illicit hand gestures.
Only illicit hand gestures.
That's what I'm saying. Because what is it? What are you gonna do? Oh my God, Jonathan did a dick sucking motion to me earlier.
Well, I think all right, so remember the old, adage or whatever, like the sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me. Like, if you're really, why can't you flip somebody off? Like, you should be able to sue somebody for that.
I was gonna say that's what I was curious because it looks like he called the police. The other person was arrested specifically on the grounds of criminal harassment and uttering death threats.
Well, they were saying this slitting the throat thing, which is when I read that one, I was like, well, that one's a little bit different than saying fuck you or I'll suck your dick or whatever, you know what I mean?
But it looks like, according to your article, the judge ruled that nearby surveillance footage didn't corroborate the accusation of death threats and ultimately dismissed the charges. So what I want to know...
Saying offending someone is not a crime is what
Yes.
they said, yeah.
So I'm so curious, how involved in a feud do you have to be? Like, how deep within it do you have to go that you're going to call the cops because someone gave you the middle finger? Like, at that point, I think you've gotten so engulfed in some kind of battle that it is delusion. It's just absolute. I cannot imagine calling the cops and being like, yeah, my neighbor gave me the finger, so I think he's gonna kill me.
What does that? But I think that, all right. So aside from like the throat slitting thing, which I do think is an actual kind of nonverbal threat,
A threat, yeah.
but I think like name calling, like calling somebody a bitch or fuck you or you know what I mean? Like, that's offensive. And
Yeah.
it is meant to hurt your feelings. But also, just because you're offended doesn't mean you can I don't think you should be able to sue somebody or, you know what I mean? That's criminal.
Well, and that's what I was kind of talking about earlier with, like, unfortunately, for some, protecting free speech also means protecting the speech of people who you really don't like what they have to say.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, unless there's certain circumstances, they have the right to say it. I think that the judge was right of saying offending someone is not a crime. I
Yeah.
think there's a difference between threatening actual harm to someone.
Right. Yeah, because fuck you is not a violent threat.
And
Yeah, that's what I'm
neither
saying.
is-
What does it mean?
I was
Yeah.
going to say, and it's not discrimination based on any specific detail of the person. It's also not a more like specific harassment. It's not happening in the workplace. This isn't sexual harassment. It is truly just someone using offensive language to speak to someone that they
Yeah.
don't like.
Like they said, it's just a God-given red-blooded Canadian right. All
Yeah,
right,
I like that.
That's
You
a
could
good
say-
sentence.
you could say-
Well, the ACLU used to do that a lot, where they would like go out and protect
I remember,
Nazis
yeah.
and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It'd be like, yeah, I mean, they have a right. I do find myself conflicted with this. Like, there's I forget what it's called. It's called like the paradox of tolerance, right? Because again, when it's something like an offensive gesture, if it's me being like, I don't like you, why? Because you're a bitch. You know what I mean? Fuck you. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that like a woman or whatever. I mean like I just don't like you. I don't like your character. I don't like your personality. Right? Fuck you. You suck. That's a disagreement. I think that when it becomes like a thing where it's like Nazis being like, well, I don't like the Jews and we should eradicate. Like our actual belief is that they should not exist. Now that becomes a
Right.
That's an ideology.
an ideology that is
Yeah.
And that's targeting an entire group of people versus you're saying to one person, fuck you.
so.
Yeah, which is basically just saying I don't like you.
So to this point, free speech up to the point of violence, right? And this is not violent.
No.
Well, it's in the law. Free speech up until discrimination
All right.
based on what? Sex, race,
Creed or
and
something.
yeah,
I was
and
gonna
no,
say-
that's what it is. It's where it like especially with like sexual harassment laws and
Right.
stuff like that. You can report only things that have not sexual harassment, but harassment. If they harass you based on your gender, based off your any kind of your identity.
See, I can't just go around telling dudes I'm gonna fucking suck their dicks because I can
No.
be.
Yeah, I was
No,
gonna say,
no,
now that one,
that one is sexual. That one is sexual harassment.
I was trying to spin that in a way of like it's something like fuck you.
No, I
Suck
see
your
what you're saying, but that's exactly why that line's already drawn.
Yeah. All right.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't do that. All right. Well,
Don't suck dick.
today I learned not to threaten to suck people's dicks out of anger.
I'll teach you that.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back to finish out the episode. Cheers.
Cheers.
don't suck dick in anger.
Don't suck dicks in anger. All right, welcome back to Booze and News. Again, this episode is brought to you by Milam and Greene, and today we have their delicious triple cast bourbon whiskey. Y'all, it's been fun. I've been really enjoying that.
Now we have somebody to blame.
It's a super. Milam and Greene has no responsibility for what happens after this podcast.
Or
but thank
during.
you. Yeah, but thank
Just
you.
the smiles.
Yeah. So anyway, cheers to you guys, and
Cheers.
Cheers.
we'll get the ball rolling. Oh shit! All right.
Get the bull rolling.
Look, all right. So our next topic, you guys, is something that really made me laugh quite hard, and that's that there's a new trend going on in America
I love it.
on college campuses. And it's a thing called the B.O.R.G. Now, for me, I'm a Star Trek guy. The B.O.R.G. is like a alien species that conquers other species. Basically, they go in, resistance is futile, and they just fucking take everybody, no hostages, right? And that's what I feel like this is about to do. This is called a B.O.R.G., everybody.
I like that you labeled it.
A B.O.R.G. stands for Blackout Rage Gallon. And on college campuses all around America, students are doing this. They're making their own blackout rage gallon. And I'm going to go ahead and walk through how to make one, and then we can discuss kind of what it is, and discuss the phenomenon, and discuss drinking in general in colleges and how binge drinking works. So what a blackout rage gallon is you take a gallon of water, and I have it, about 4/5 empty, or no, 4/5 full.
Help them out. Help them out.
I already know that this is a college thing because you have pulled out a flavored vodka.
Right, right.
Nothing
That's
says
just what he
like
likes.
I'm between the ages of 18 and 20 and should not legally be doing this quite like flavored
Why
vodka.
is that? What is it with like youth and
It's
flavored
sweet.
vodka?
Because it
It's
doesn't taste
sweet.
like alcohol.
It doesn't
And
taste
they're
like
like
alcohol.
scared at that age to like drink like real.
No, it just
'Cause it
tastes
tastes
nasty.
yucky.
They've never tasted it before. They've
They
never
haven't
had it.
acquired a
Yeah.
taste
Well,
for
I
it.
remember being young and drinking flavored vodka. I'm like, why was I drinking?
So I just put a full liter of that into there, so you can see that's filled up. Again, now this is only 35% alcohol. It's a little bit weaker than,
Milam Greene,
that
perhaps.
we've been drinking, right? But I put that in there, and then this is the real trick, Albert. If you can, open these individually and hand them to me. But we're gonna put in. This is what did you say? 120 something.
Yeah, a
ounces?
gallon is about 128 fluid ounces.
Yeah. So we're gonna put in 6. I think I have. of
Where are we
these.
going after this?
Well, we don't have to. Well, I guess.
we kind
Do y'all,
of
I
do.
was like, do y'all have a ride? Should I drive you home?
Yeah, maybe.
Yes. Well, no, we like to Uber and Lyft around here. And
Man, I
make
should have got
friends.
some food coloring because now I thought for some reason this would be like.
Well, I told
Yep.
Devin, like we're
That's
not
like look right there.
promoting like
Binge drinking.
yeah, and I totally forgot that you wanted to do this because this is actually a story that is on the news.
No,
These
absolutely.
kids were doing.
It's
Oh,
also,
I
we're
was
not
gonna
being that
say-
crazy. We're telling you to mix.
I mean, we're not
Gatorade powder,
I'm just teaching you
vodka,
how to
water.
do this.
I thought this was supposed to be some like anti-hangover drink. You said
That's, yeah, exactly. That's what this is. So we're
Okay.
putting.
Well, that's kind of promoting like.
We're putting in.
Propel.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
As long
I say the brand, but this is
I'm
electro-
sorry.
electrolyte.
You can bleep that out, yeah.
On the way out.
This is electrolyte.
Can I shake it?
Yeah, yeah. You
Electro.
can shake it.
I
We'll
wanna
call
be the
it
one to shake it.
nondescript electrolyte
Yeah,
sport
there's one more.
powder.
Yeah, this is electrolyte powder.
I feel
Yeah.
like if you just add electrolytes and vodka, you'll be fine.
And
I
water.
guess we're doing a science experiment.
Look,
Yeah.
I hate
Experience.
Yeah.
A science
The science
experience.
experience.
The science experience.
I was gonna say I hate to reference idiocracy because I think that movie
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just like
All right, let's get
it's kind of like what if eugenics but funny. But I do
Here,
think
go,
of
this
the
is for
line.
For the views right here. No, I'm joking.
Unfortunately, right now in America, this is a lot of people's.
I'm
Because we
bartender.
can't access, mental health.
This
you
is
know?
therapy. This
is-
actually
this
stands
is
for.
unfortunately
It's
a lot of
the thing of-
Americans' way of dealing with trauma.
Stands for
This we're
be
looking at right
open
here.
regularly is good.
It's good. Yeah.
Be open regularly, grow.
Grow. There we go. Okay, this is
No,
sticky
but I was gonna
now.
say
Yeah,
it
it's
always
gonna be
reminds me
sticky.
of
And
that
you drink
line
it
where they're like,
straight
it's
out
got
of the thing.
electrolytes in it. It's fine.
Wait, but I thought it
It's
was
got
a
what
bowl.
plants crave.
Yeah, you want some of that?
All right.
So, that's good to you.
I don't have.
So, the board, the blackout rage gallon.
Here you go. Hold
Uh,
this.
okay. Now, again,
Don't put it in there.
yeah, you can.
Okay.
Whatever. So,
Let me just take this out.
the premise of this is
There you
that
go.
students in the country are drinking these, I guess the whole gallon. I watched a couple of videos of this, of like women trying, and men trying to get through an entire gallon of this.
Now, what about the non-binary people trying to drink the
And the
blackout rage?
non-binary people as well.
I was
You
gonna
know,
say.
it's a genderless
Activity.
activity, which is I think what the G stands for.
So,
it is
okay.
blackout rage
So the B,
genderless.
so the B in Borg does not stand for binary.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
Right.
I would like to. Let me try it. But
Doesn't really taste like.
oh, this tastes.
It's
Good.
good.
I mean, it doesn't taste bad.
This is very good.
Watching you guys drink this and like smelling it is making
Tastes like
me
it.
nauseous. I'm having like hangover
Do you wanna smell
flashbacks. No, I can smell it from here. And it smells like
Powdery.
being very ill, like, and hungover, and, like, asking my partner, like, please bring me a Gatorade. I can't carry on.
I can't taste the liquor in this, which is the scary thing.
No, me neither.
But it was
So-
already flavored.
So talk to
Right.
me about, so you said that some people you've seen try to drink the whole thing. Is the idea that you're pairing alcohol
So
with
this is
these
what
electrolytes so
Yeah.
you don't
Get a
have a
hangover. Yeah.
hangover?
So it's a TikTok trend, right? So it says that the name is short for Blackout Rage Gallon. It consists of students taking a gallon jug of water, emptying it a bit to fit in their desired amount of alcohol and adding some sort of flavoring like water enhancing drops or powdered drink mixes. The hashtag B.O.R.G has garnered more than 74.7 million views on TikTok.
These kids are gonna shit themselves when they find out about jungle juice.
I'm not gonna lie, it's good.
A lot of kids apparently have gone to the hospital, but this is what I'm trying to say. I mixed this up for us. We obviously don't have to drink the whole goddamn thing.
No, we're gonna get y'all.
Any person that would try to take this on by themselves is a crazy person. Right?
This is why our tech is messed up all the time.
That is a full liter of liquor. Even though it's diluted with water, whatever, that's a full liter of liquor. You know?
Okay, let me say something. People love shitting on young people having fun, but this isn't just a fun thing. And it's also, in my personal opinion, not a genderless activity. This is fighting rape culture in college 100%. I know I'm kind of saying this as a joke, but I don't think so. I saw like some people
You think
saying...
it's a rupees or something?
Well, no, because if you go to a party and you're planning to spend all night drinking, right? Cool. Now, I am in charge of all of the liquor that I am putting in my body.
Right.
I have a cap on it. I know where it came from. I know who bought it. I know how it got in here. And it's, nothing else is getting in here.
rupees is
That's your drink for the whole
And
night.
yeah, so this is your drink
Right.
for the whole, I'm not going to pound it.
Now, I will also advocate that you don't drink that whole thing because if you become so inebriated, you can't take care of yourself.
Well, yeah, you
There you
can't
go.
take, but yes, but you do, but then you also, if you bring enough, you don't have to finish it.
To me, this is much more of a community thing that we should share.
To me, it seems like that's kind of the like that's how I saw it. If everyone wants to do a community, we can have a jungle juice. But if I'm afraid and don't know the frat house that I'm gonna go drinking at, I've never been there before. I'm bringing my own, and if a motherfucker get out of hand, I can hit somebody with it. Okay, it's a whole ass weapon.
Yeah,
But no, I really do. I saw a lot of people talking about how women, young women, are doing this to better control anything getting
Sure.
in their drinks, and so I think it's a totally fucking awesome thing to do.
It actually tastes great.
And it tastes great. I'm gonna start doing this mango.
I need to do an experiment to see if it actually helps my hangover, though.
Again, what are we doing?
Time will tell.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it reminds me of when I was a kid. My mom used to add water to my grape juice because she was worried it would be like too sugary and concentrated.
You're one of those kids.
Yeah.
I've actually
Like,
done that with my son.
I now can only do that. I can only
'cause
drink
y'all are
like
poor?
water.
No, because
I
no.
mean-
Because if you give your kid like pure
We
cranberry
did talk
juice,
about, being realistic about your class. But I think that this is just that version of that. I think this is very much a college thing. I mean, I know it's easy to say, like, yeah, I'm drinking water at the same time, so it's not a big deal, which probably isn't true, but also I think realistically it's
There
adding
is some
fun.
truth to drinking water while
Oh,
drinking.
absolutely. It
So,
is
like, I've
important to
actually
stay
seen
hydrated.
some- it's maybe pseudoscience, but it's like where it's talking about how like if you drink every drink that you take an equal drink of water, right?
Well, right, you can get really dehydrated when you drink
When you drink
alcohol.
alcohol, right.
And so to stay hydrated is really important. But I think the combination of the two is giving more the energy of like,
False
I
sense of
don't-
security.
well, I don't, that and also like, I don't like the taste of alcohol yet, so I'm gonna make myself like a fun little drink. It's like, this is
Yeah.
like making yourself a Smirnoff Ice or a Buzz Ball.
This tastes like Capri Sun almost.
It tastes like a Skittle.
And that's how they get you.
yeah.
I love it.
Can I take
I mean,
this
what
home?
can I do?
Yeah, you can have the gallon.
Just make sure you put tape on the lid. Open container laws.
Yeah.
Or have it out of reach.
Put it in the trunk.
Yeah, put it in the trunk. All right. Final thoughts on the B.O.R.G?
It's fucking awesome. Stay safe out there, ladies. Pack your own fucking drinks and don't let nobody else touch them.
Yeah, I like that approach. Of you know, I was in a club 2 nights ago.
Yeah. Oh, I saw your pictures.
And I left my drink with my friend because I don't take it to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't help but think, what if anything happens in that?
You just take it with you to that.
Yeah, but it's
Although,
gross.
do you really think that any bouncer would allow you into the club with that?
Well, no. I'm talking about.
So I'm talking about
Okay.
house parties. I'm talking. I go to house parties.
Of course not.
Well, you said you went to a
Or
club,
go-
and
let's say
so
you go
I'm
to a-
imagining you walking up to a club and you're like, no, this is my board. No, you have to let me in with
I
this. That's my
brought my
board.
board.
I brought my
It's my emotional support board.
Yeah.
Emotional support board.
And he's like-
I love that.
He's like, alright, that's fine.
Emotional support board.
That's what this is. Thank you for giving me my first one.
Also,
Sounds dirty.
You can't order one of these.
No.
You know what I mean?
But I mean, I go to BYOB like rave stuff often. That happens in
Renaissance
Houston.
Fair.
Renaissance Fair AF. You're in the campgrounds, bro.
Definitely.
Do you know how many times I've almost been roofied in the campgrounds at the Renaissance Festival?
Yeah.
Not anymore.
anymore.
Don't touch my board, bitch.
Yeah.
That's gonna be my. I'm gonna get that. Don't touch my board, bitch. It's gonna be my sign on my ass during fair next year.
You can have like a snake that has the board, like the water handle in its mouth, and it
Oh my
says,
God.
"Don't tread on my board."
Yes.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, we're making t-shirts.
Okay.
Please.
Don't touch my board, bitch.
Don't touch my board, bitch.
All right. Well, speaking about colleges, we're going to end on this. So, breaking news, I guess. There was another school shooting today. It was today at a preparatory, like, Catholic school or whatever.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not
Hard
the...
pivoting, joking about Borgs, and now we are gonna talk about kids that died.
But, yeah, so...
But I think I heard about this.
This was today.
I don't think like one person died.
No,
Or...
7.
No.
Oh, 7?
Yeah, it was several
Yeah.
who died. It's horrible. I wondered if we would talk
Apparently
about this. It's-
transgender shooter, they say.
Anybody can be crazy, bro. Anybody can be
I was gonna
transgender.
say-
Anybody can be an asshole.
7 people were killed, including 3 children, after a transgender woman opened fire inside private Christian elementary school inside Nashville on Monday. I will say that this story has been developing because at
Such
first,
an inflammatory sentence.
At-
Though.
So inflammatory.
yeah, because I remember when I first saw this article this morning around like 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. when it happened. It was breaking. They were like, woman shooter. It didn't say transgender or whatever, it just said woman shooter, right? And I thought to myself, I go, well, that doesn't always happen, you know, because typically the school shootings are men, right? And I'm not trying to make like an overly profound statement there. I do think that, like, statistically, that's the accuracy. But
Oh, no,
right,
that's
my
it's
understanding
100%
is, like,
accurate.
Yeah, you know, it's mostly men that are committing these mass murders. But now it's saying transgender, you know, as the article has updated. But anyway, this was today, and before I had planned this to talk about, I wanted to kind of segue from the B.O.R.G to how there's another thing going on college campuses right now, which is they're doing these drills. I think Albert might have sent me this clip, where they're now doing live active shooter drills on college campuses. Right? I'm going to show you guys a little video of that.
What do you mean?
Here, I'll show you. So they're like with paintball guns. They're now running live.
Dude, we gotta practice what you gotta fucking practice.
Yeah.
I
I was gonna
guess.
say, but there's a part of me that's like, I feel like we're doing everything in the world except maybe like
Regulating guns.
regulating things to make sure that this couldn't happen.
By an active shooter, as students and teachers flee for safety. Responding officers
Not
engage
them
the gunman,
fake screaming. That feels really disrespectful.
following him into the school library. Police resources flood the campus.
I got anxiety, bro. I'm missing class that day.
Officers begin arriving on scene.
The helicopter and that motherfucker.
Then the tactical teams move in. An officer radios that the threat has been neutralized. But the work is far from over. A cavalry of firefighters and paramedics staging nearby rush in to triage and administer first aid. This is only an exercise. An empty college campus on spring break turned into a simulated war zone. as police and first responders hone their life-saving skills.
So this is for
This
the,
type of training
This is for the police, not for the students.
children.
Well, and EMT and everything else.
Yeah, okay.
But what's all right? But as a kid, even I've been a long time out of public schools. Fuck, 20 years ish. You know what I mean? I remember them having drills where they would like put us in rooms and have us like sit by the walls. And I know it's only gotten worse in those 20 years, right? It is insane to me that this is where we've come. That we're having these active shooter drills. We're expecting kids to go through this trauma, maybe getting shot the fuck up.
Right.
Instead of, what, just doing a little bit of regulation? What are we asking? Background checks? Assault ban?
Or maybe allow people
Assault rifle bans?
mental health.
Yeah.
You know, free mental health counseling.
I think was, I don't know how old you are, but probably the person that was in high school most recently, in public school at least. And I mean, like, even up until like last month of senior year, we were doing mass shooter drills.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine how much it's been increasing in the last 5 years. And now that I'm a part-time teacher on a public elementary school campus right now, and we have to go through that with our children often as well. And it's like, it's almost to a point where like it's a joke, but it's not a joke because it's real, and we as adults know it's so real. How do you convey that to the children as well? And I think, and I think I've talked about this maybe on here before, but I managed a restaurant that was in a very open, busy public tourist spot here in Houston, and there was an active gunman that came in one day, and like, that was something I never considered. Because like, oh, in school that happens. I hadn't, as the manager of that restaurant, put in a place a emergency exit route if a gunman came in. That never crossed my mind until the moment I needed it.
Right.
And then I needed it. We all went out. It was safe and it was fine. But as soon as we came out, it looked like a war zone. There was 100 police officers. There was 5 fire trucks, and all we did was go across and wait. And it's in that moment of, you never know how real it is until it's real. And so, like, I understand this is terrifying, but honestly, dude, we can't keep talking about it. We have to figure out how to do it. And we need to regulate gun stuff, but that's not going to fucking happen. So
I was going to say, I think,
I don't know. That shit really hurts me a lot.
there is something to be said about at least trying to train law enforcement to have some kind of swift response, especially
After what happened in Uvalde,
I
where
was
they
going
just
to say,
fucking
especially
fumbled the ball so
where
goddamn
they
hard.
waited outside the school and they stopped people from going inside.
Yeah.
So I guess if this is the reality we have to live in, I would rather people be trained to give a swift response, but I do wish that it's something that didn't have to be done. I think there has to be some level of emergency preparedness, but it's pretty bleak to watch it roll
For
out
sure.
like that.
You know, I'm unfortunately, and I see this stuff, and I have an extreme take on it. I don't think we're gonna. You said it. You just said it. Like, you were like, they're not gonna stop the guns, and so, or control gun laws.
Yeah, no, they're not gonna
So
regulate.
it's like, in some ways, we talk about Paris, and they're just like, fuck it, we're going to the streets and we're
Right.
just destroying everything until they fucking fix stuff, right?
Mhm.
Because they don't seem to be doing anything. I look at these police officers, by the way. See, I'm like thinking a little bit like, I see the SWAT team and all these guys that are like, ho ho ho, getting out of the thing. They're like,
Right, and for the drill.
Yeah, the drill. It's like, they're getting paid to like, basically show up after everyone's dead. It's like, oh great, you're armed and ready. Everyone's dead already.
Yeah.
So what the fuck does it matter?
Well-
Like your training is worthless because the shooter already came in and murdered
Right.
people.
And-
So why
There's
do
a way to
so
fix
why
that.
do we even have?
So
So
there's a way to fix
the
that.
point is, these guys are cronies to the fucking system,
But-
and it's like,
But mass murder is allowed in this country because we are allowing people to have weapons and fucking
That can commit mass murder. Well,
Well-
I have a question real quick for Albert. You're the only one of us that has a kid, right? Do you have any children?
No, I don't.
Yeah, so you're the only one of us that has a kid, and he's getting school age. How does that, I think, affect you as a parent?
Well, we're homeschooling our son.
Okay, fuck yeah, that's what I would do as a
100%.
parent in this day and age. Like,
What weirdly enough is
I don't like living in fear, but I'm scared.
before Uvalde,
Uvalde.
before that, me and her, before like our son was even born, we were already discussing homeschooling.
Yeah.
There's problems with that as well.
And I've had my
Problems with everything, but Albert's not gonna fucking accidentally shoot his kid.
I've had my I've had like my boomer parents talk about.
There was a dog that accidentally shot its owner the other day.
Of course they think it's weird. They're like, they don't like the idea of me homeschooling my child, and they're like, you should go to this one school. They close all the doors at some time, and they only let. I'm like, bitch, the kids are bringing guns too. Like, it's not just fucking adults.
What bothers me about it is
you can't stop this. I mean, there's no way to stop it unless you're putting metal detectors on every door in every school, and you're having high security.
What bothers me about it is that the kids actually have no fucking chance of doing anything about it.
No.
The adults have to be the adults in the room to fix it, and the adults are more concerned with what? Their fucking Second Amendment rights and shit. And look, I'm actually fairly pro 2A, but I think there's something wrong with this country where it's easier to get a driver's license than it is to get a gun.
I said it earlier.
No, sorry. It's easier to get a gun
Let me-
than it is to get a driver's license. You know what I mean? Like there's more government
Regulation.
on getting a driver's license than there is to get a fucking gun, and that's always troubled me. You know
So,
what I mean?
let me answer your question more like faster than I was trying to answer it earlier. People should be going on strikes at their jobs right now, and parents should be not taking their kids
To school.
to school anymore. And that sounds insane. Well, then where are they going to go? And I don't know. Figure it out. They're dying. They're getting shot. So I don't know.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Do what you gotta do.
Well, here's the funny thing, Albert.
And stop making fucking excuses.
Well, here's the
And stop waiting on the fucking government or isn't gonna do nothing for your kid. You're like, well, I gotta go to work. Okay, then don't have kids or take your kid to work with you or leave your kid at home or figure it out because all this, well, I gotta pay my bills. Okay, well, when your kid's dead,
Right.
are you really gonna be worried about your fucking bills?
But
I
Albert,
don't
think about
think
this.
so.
Think about this. When we were in COVID and people were doing the what was it, like the
Virtual
virtual schooling, right? It actually probably helped a lot of parents with their anxiety about shit like that because their kids weren't going to get fucking shot up or whatever. You know what I mean?
You know what the
It
statistic?
caused other problems, right? Which all of it is nuanced, but there's something sad, right? That right now we've seen an abundance of weapons being sold over the past couple of years, especially since COVID. And then you think about what is the causality of that? It's because people are insecure, or they're afraid, or they're anxious, right? And so they're buying up weapons, right, to make themselves feel safe, right? But then, what happens if someone in their family, right, gets a hold of those weapons, right? Or if them themselves have no mental health care, right?
Well, no one has mental health care.
Nobody.
The
So
only mental health
no
care
one
we
has
have is
access.
this is all we have.
Exactly. And I made the joke earlier. If you got trauma in America, you can't call your therapist because your therapist is $300 an hour. So you got to do this.
You got the board.
I was gonna
Oh yeah,
say, there's also a part of me that I thought about this. Although I appreciate the training involved, none of it really makes a difference because even a swift response
What you just
still
said, yeah.
ends in a
They're
lot of
dead
lives
already.
lost. It is what you said already because I thought about, I also have been following the news story about the shooting in Nashville today, and from what I also heard about it very quickly after it happened, so I don't know how accurate the information was, but they said that everything was over in about 13 or 14 minutes.
Yeah.
Even Columbine, which is considered one of the worst school shootings, only lasted about 25 minutes. Even when there's a swift response, that's still lives
Right.
lost. There really is no response
There's not.
that's swift enough that's going to save everyone.
There's not.
Also, just a side note, if this is really true, about, regardless of whether it's true or not, about the shooter being trans, I know that this is going to be used as a talking point.
Of course.
As
yeah.
fodder.
To further demonize trans people. And if you're listening to this, I guess you probably haven't listened to this whole like left-leaning podcast if you are not
Gotten this far.
Yeah, if you're not super down with trans rights, but God, trans people really are just people. And so there's gonna be a spectrum of behavior, there's gonna be a spectrum of personality, just like there is with any group of people. Trans people are not a monolith. And if, regardless of whether this ends up being true or not, I would really encourage you, if you don't know that many trans people, to understand that this is not
Right.
normal.
It would also,
Causation.
it would also be statistically low.
An anomaly.
So unlikely.
Yeah.
There's so few people who are trans as it is. It's such
And
a rare
also
identity.
a mass murder. Like
That's what I'm
it
saying,
just
and so I
doesn't
just-
happen. You know what
I
mean?
don't know.
But it just becomes the one, which could be galvanized, right, as like a thing. It's very interesting. I do think, though, that it is bleak and dark as this is. My sense of humor is just like, what are we going to do? Because we won't even do the simplest of measures. We're against universal background checks. You know what I mean?
Which is why I keep going back to the fact is that at some point, parents are just gonna have to just stop
Well,
dropping their kids off.
Can I have one rebuttal to that? As a teacher, I found after COVID, and there's been a lot of reports I saw on this, that the increase in physical and sexual abuse of children skyrocketed during COVID because they weren't going to school every day and the
Right.
teachers weren't catching it.
Sure.
So it's like I think it's
And they weren't getting
really
away from their
yeah,
abusers.
and they weren't getting away from there. I think it's really not easy. I think it's fucking commendable that you can say that because you're a fucking good dad and you go home and you protect your children.
Yeah.
But sometimes the safer place for a lot of those kids to be is school, even when there's a fucking mass
100%.
Oh,
murder
then we
every
should
day.
start having regulations on who has children then.
I believe no. Yes, sir. There we go. Now we talking about eugenics.
Because
I was gonna say, now we're getting a little back into
What?
the idiocracy. Like,
Eugenics
what if?
woot?
Yeah, like we're getting back into like the idiocracy. Like, what if eugenics?
Well, I
would
think
make it
nobody
funny?
should have children. I know that.
Well, no.
Now we're getting into children of men. We're maybe
Yeah.
there's maybe a way to do this
Yeah.
without telling
I do.
people. whether that's
I've actually
happening.
said this for years before I even had a son. I used to like talk to people about that because I went through a lot of trauma as a kid, and I definitely think my parents had no business
Definitely.
having a child. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, like their parents had.
Well, yeah, that's always
you know,
been the way it is, though.
You know, it's like.
But what the government can do is help to regulate shit.
No, what the
There's
government.
no reason we shouldn't
what the
have
government
universal
can
background
do-
checks.
what the
That's a fucking bare minimum.
Can I have like? Oh, never mind. I want to like take a derail from this for a second, if that's
That's
okay.
fine. We're wrapping it up.
I know we're wrapping it up. So we're talking about stuff that schools can do that's so fucking easy.
Ted
to-
Cruz said
to-
you should have doors that don't
Well-
open from one side.
They are so easy to fix,
You know,
right?
fires be damned.
Fires, they're not real. We're in Texas. But, like, there's, I don't know, it seems like there's sometimes so much bureaucracy and when it comes to safety. Like, I was reading a lot this week at U of H, how there's that one building that they have that 3 students have died
by jumping off.
by
the top.
jumping off of it.
Suicide.
By suicide. I think
Deaths
one of
deaths
them.
depression.
Yeah, but I think one of them might have been like an accident because the railing is so low, it's easily accessible.
I lived in
And
San
so there's
Francisco.
this.
People used to jump up that
Yeah,
bridge all
well,
the
there's
time.
there's just this. I mean, and people who want to kill them, they're going to try so hard. But there's a giant, oh my God, petition going on right now, being like, hey, can we have some kind of architectural fix just to make this not
Because
an easy
nothing's
option?
been done to change
Because
it.
nothing, and so it's
Right.
again these surface level things that it's like I'm asking you for the bare minimum. It's not even going to fix it.
This
It
is-
just maybe help it. Just
I get,
please.
what you're saying.
Like, so I don't know. Yeah,
So it's
draw the through
address-
line.
Yeah, I'll draw the through line. We're talking about addressing symptoms and not talking about the causality. of the
Yes.
cause,
Right.
right?
Yes.
The cancer is killing us, right? The cancer in this country is there's way too many goddamn guns. Okay? I forget what the proportions are, but there's something like hundreds of millions of guns.
Known guns, by the way.
Yeah.
Registered guns,
Right.
not even
And,
3D
and, there's,
printed
and
guns.
there's no way to keep track of all of that.
No.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so there should be they should fix that
Yeah.
somehow.
Well, I believe, this is what I believe. I think that the government should do a very generous program of a gun buyback thing, right? To where they offer you more money than what the gun's actually worth. Because people are hard up for cash, they need money. So we'll give you more money than what the gun's actually worth and we'll buy
Right.
it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I mean, honestly, it's not about it.
And also, there needs to be. I had this idea like a while ago when I had a panic attack at one of my old jobs. There needs to be counselors everywhere. There needs to be counselors at retail jobs. There needs to be counselors. There needs to be more than one counselor at a fucking school. And kids need to
And
be
they
getting
need to
like
do more
kids
to
really
talk about
need
mental
to be
health
in
and not just what
mandatory
classes.
therapy.
Yeah.
When kids are going into the school
Well, that's,
program,
a
there should
counselor should be its own thing. As far as
Besides,
academic goes
kids,
versus
if we're
mental
not
health.
going to control who has babies, then we need
Which
to
I don't think we
force mental health like on the youth, and
You
there
can't
needs,
control
there
it
needs-
because the accidents happen.
there needs to be fucking people in the school system that are there that are giving therapy to children, and I think that there needs to be mandatory therapy sessions throughout a child's. I went to HISD right here in Houston, Texas. Ask me how many times I had a therapy session.
Well, that's a whole other topic where they recently got taken over by.
I'm very upset.
I went from first grade to graduating high. How many times did I have a therapy session?
I don't know.
none times.
None.
I actually got therapy.
So-
I did not.
I actually got to see my therapist.
Okay, well, some people
But
might.
that was crazy.
I did it, and I know my friends did it. So I know there's a lot of people that didn't receive anything.
I think I had crazy privilege.
So the point is that we gotta really change the way a lot of this shit is.
Yeah.
All right.
I think we're have to button it up there. We can't solve everything. We're just here drinking.
I was
And
gonna say,
talking.
I think we're deep in the Borg and
We're deep in
pontificating.
the Borg.
We've been pontificating.
So-
Keep doing this podcast. Maybe
So,
things
but,
will change.
Devin, I hope you've had a great time with us.
I have
This
had
is what we
a
do.
lovely time. Thank you
Would you
all
mind
very much.
telling the folks at home where they can
Know you.
Sure.
know you,
Yes,
find
of
you,
course.
follow you?
Here, let me turn towards the camera.
Get the good angle.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at The Sunday Sleep. I also am one half of a band called Space Cadets. You can find us on social media at Where Is SK. And we host a weekly podcast called Space Case where we investigate the various mysteries plaguing our personal lives. That's at Space Case Pod. You can find it wherever you find podcasts. Thank you.
I want to listen
Sounds
to
like
y'all.
a
That
good
sounds
one,
awesome.
yeah.
That sounds so awesome.
Maybe we'll have to have y'all on one day.
Just me. Don't invite me.
We like talking about space.
You didn't. That's not what they talk about. You didn't listen. Are you going to me? Is it me now?
Your turn.
Hey guys, y'all know me. I'm Timely Rain. You can follow me. Am I here? I'm looking here. Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at call your mom. It's very complicated. Call_UR_M0M. Call your mom. Call your mom if you haven't. Or you can find me on Facebook. I'm Timely Rain. I'm the only one. And every single Tuesday at Brazil Cafe in Montrose, doing a wonderful open mic for all artist types, whether you do a sideshow, a burlesque, a comic, whatever the fuck you are. I want to see you. I want to see your art. So I'll see you Tuesday at Brazil.
And you have a show coming up here, right? In April?
Not anymore, remember? We talked about that.
God damn it, Jonathan.
It's because of the Astros.
Albert DeLeon Comedy. YouTube and Instagram.
And
also, Maxed Out Comedy. Me and Waldo Waters. We are fucking running Maxed Out Comedy here in Houston. And we hope to make a difference in the scene and make it better, funnier, everything.
It's been awesome. I've done a few of those shows.
Thank
Great.
you.
All right. Well, We appreciate you guys watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. My name is Jonathan Fleissner. I want to thank all my guests, Devin, Timely, Albert, great. And thank you to all of the people who gave me things to talk about, especially the B.O.R.G. This is now mine. And I'm here at the Rec Room. We have a play opening up on the 8th, which is called Wolf Play, that my friend Lily Wolf is directing. It's going to be great. Come check it out if you're in Houston. We do comedy shows, improv, and all that, reckless comedy. Follow me on Return of Jonathan, and you will find all of that. And until next time, boozers.
Woo!
Cheers.
Cheers.
Love
Cheers.
you.
Woo.
Peace out, y'all.